This is a miracle. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 326 The Broken Miracle World. The 7 islands of Atón, while their combined size couldn't compare to Ali's Xiuxia Kingdom, what did Xiuxia Kingdom actually have? Was it even a hair? Not a single hair. While Xiuxia Kingdom was vast, its citizens numbered only 200,000, all concentrated in a single region, on the periphery. Those beyond were not recognized by Ali and considered mortals within Xiuxia. This is the structure of any miracle kingdom, a foreign land for the mortals. Just like the Aole Kingdom, King Aole and his demonic subjects resided within the miracle kingdom, while the mortals lived outside. Simply in terms of population, the disparity between the two was enormous. Ali had an absolute requirement for his subjects: they must be the ancestors of the great wilderness, the human race that drifted from the lost lands of the distant seas to the new miracle continent. The miracle world was boundless, but the region where the miracle lords resided was not itself large. Long ago, before planes and dimensions emerged in the miracle world was truly a world. However, repeated miracle wars led to the fragmentation of the miracle world. Yingbai Zhao and the Atón Empire once excavated the history of that era, which dates back over 2.4 million years. Of the surviving miracle lords, only the ancient great emperor experienced that terrible era. At that time, supreme miracles truly existed, and there were more than one. Wars between the Supremas shattered the foundations of the miracle world, transforming the once magnificent cosmos into its present state. Miracles would fall upon living lands, but war destroyed them, completely wiping out the miracle world. Just like the blue star universe where Yifeng and the others reside, it is actually entirely a dead space. Miracles cannot fall there. Ever 2.4 million years ago, the surviving miracle lords reforged the miracle world. It was also at that time that the name of the world, Atón, spread. At that time, there was only one continent, Atón. Unfortunately, war once again shattered Atón. While the number of dead lands this time was not as great as before, the entire world was in decline. For example, if I have $1 million right now, 90% of 1 million is 900,000. But if I only have $100, then $99 would be equivalent to 99%. Similarly, the continent of Atón is already very, very small. If it were to shatter further, the consequences are unimaginable. After Atón shattered, it drifted in all directions. The miracle new continent didn't originally exist, it was the result of the Earth further shattering and drifting. In fact, originally, there were only 4 continents: the South Continent, the North Continent, home to the East Empire and the ancient Golden Kingdom, the Lost Lands, and the now sunken Middle Earth. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, the 4 continents were successively involved in miracle wars. The Earth shattered, eventually forming the present-day miracle new continent. For some reason, the Lost Lands were shrouded in mist, and thus severed from the 3 western lands. Occasionally, for various reasons, individuals drifted from there to the new continent and the North Continent. Thus, the present-day miracle world was formed. Calling it a world of miracles isn't entirely accurate. A more accurate description would be the realm of the Lords of Miracles, similar to the realm or kingdom of the gods in the eyes of mortals. While there are some ordinary people, they're not truly ordinary. They're almost all descendants of miracles, the only difference being that some can trace their ancestors, while others' bloodlines have long been forgotten. Regardless, they are undoubtedly superior to the humans of the endless plane. Perhaps the Lords of Miracles sometimes look down on them, but there's a contrast. Just like King Aole and Queen Cain, they look down even more on the mortals of the endless plane, who are the true plebs. My children, their talent is so high. Ali gave a thumbs up, expressing his admiration for the Xiuxia people. If Bai Luo were to grant them the power of miracles, they would surely become the future pillars of Atón. In pure talent, they were no less capable than the Atón clan, let alone 200,000 of them. 200,000 Atón clan members, what a potential pool. Beyond that, Xiuxia also boasted millions of other races, but Ali didn't acknowledge them as his own. First, they were of a different race, they were descendants of another miracle bloodline, not the Great Wilderness. Furthermore, these people simply lived within the territory of the Xiuxia Kingdom. They had no connection to Ali, and were even unaware of the Xiuxia people's existence. Otherwise, whenever the four gods showed off, these people would worship them as gods. But again, Ali didn't need them. But you came all the way here too. Is it that complicated? No, King Kun and the old uncle had merged into the same miracle, their memories and knowledge now shared, so the Marquis knew of Atón's situation. She was speechless about the mysterious silent ritual, but she chose to respect it nonetheless. And by the way, a little surprise for Ali. With the arrival of a new miracle, Atón will be performing a special ritual, King Kun said. Knowing your personality, I'm sure you'll dislike this. Ali, though wild, was also half Oriental, tradition ingrained in her. No way, yeah, King Kun nodded with amusement. It's incredible, his Ali quickly leaned forward. Well, sis, can you tell me a little bit? Hey, King Kun just smiled strangely, but refused to elaborate, leaving Ali bewildered. Sister Ali, hey Erbo, watching nearby, couldn't bear to watch any more and told Ali the general outlines. After learning just how little was going on, Ali nearly grabbed King Kun and beat her up. I called you sis, but it was all for nothing. You're trying to scare me. Was Ali raised to be scared? Even if the ritual involved stripping off all clothes and running around naked, would she be afraid? Impossible. Is everyone here? The Empress hasn't arrived yet. Bai Luo and his uncle were discussing the miracle ceremony. Having received so many miracles in a row, Ali, King Kun, and now Huangtan, including Bai Yun's awakening and the incomplete supreme, Bai Luo hadn't counted them all. Even so, that was still 3 complete miracles, a fact Bai Luo couldn't help but value. Kneeling and praying wasn't enough to satisfy Bai Luo. He felt they had to organize an event, the grander the better. Of course, they still had to kneel. It was a custom in Atón. Without it, it felt like something was missing, it didn't have the same flavor. Chapter 327 I am in control of it. It's so lively today, the fairyland was bustling with people. After 3 days of living here, Yifeng and the others were no longer just newcomers, and had gained their own understanding of many things. Qin Yu, who was even luckier, had even made an acquaintance with a Golden Mountain god. The god had a generous personality, and Qin Yu shared that sentiment. Perhaps it was because they shared a common rapport, but after just 2 days, their relationship had blossomed, like a pair of trousers. Get a piece of equipment, sure, the quest itself was randomly generated, and the Golden Mountain god was unaware of its existence, but Qin Yu was quite interested. It's just a piece of equipment, no big deal, no big deal. So today, Qin Yu successfully obtained the weapon forged by the Golden Mountain god and earned the right to return home. This was, in theory, a milestone. It symbolized the contract between the plain visitors and the Duchy of Atón. In the eyes of the Lord of Miracles, Qin Yu's blue planet truly belonged to Atón. No other miracle king could legitimately question whether that plane belonged to the Duchy of Atón. Of course, Qin Yu was unaware of these matters. In reality, even if he knew, he probably wouldn't say anything. Qin Yu had become Bai Luo's miracle child. Yes, he had gained the power of miracles. The emergence of these powers signified Qin Yu's identification with the fairyland. He loved it, its inhabitants, and yearned to live in the Principality of Atón. Only when these conditions were met would Bai Luo's miracle recognize him and grant him power. Brother Jinchen Shen, do you know why it's so lively today? The Jinchen Shen was originally the iron hammer wielded by an old uncle of the Atón clan. He had served the clan tirelessly for 10 years, and after encountering the power of the ancient legends, he successfully gained a soul. He was fortunate not only to become a miracle derivative but also to receive divinity from the Rakshasa, reincarnating as a member of the Kunjin gods. Objects themselves possessed memories, and the Jinchen Shen deeply identified with Atón, and especially with the Atón clan. As a blacksmith, the Jinchen Shen naturally had his own connections and was privy to many matters. A celebration. Today's a grand one, as a key member personally entrusted by his uncle with the creation of the Golden Holy Sword and the Silver Holy Grail. The Golden Mountain God said to Qin Yu and the others, "You can think of it as the king of the gods hosting an event, inviting his people to a grand ceremony. King of the gods, this was indeed a grand event." Qin Yu hadn't found his way home yet, but thankfully, his younger brother had. "Brother, are you joining?" "Can I?" Of course. The Golden Mountain God explained that Qin Yu had been included in the gods' roster and had become one of their chosen, thus qualifying to attend the ceremony in the Avalon world on the central island of Atón. Well, Qin Yu wanted to go, but he and his sister had been missing for several days, and Blue Star couldn't be without the Qin family. So, reluctantly, Qin Yu declined the Golden Mountain God's invitation. Alright then, the Golden Mountain God wasn't angry. He understood Qin Yu's situation. Family matters were a concern, so there was nothing he could do. As for the remaining three, they hadn't received the approval of the miraculous power. Therefore, unfortunately, they weren't eligible to go. Run the company well, Qin Yu said. Use my other excuse, I'm going to study. Got it? Qin Yu took Qin Yu's phone, which contained a recorded video. The video essentially said that Qin Yu had found an incredible business opportunity and needed to leave for a while, with no contact. Qin Yu was responsible for everything within the Qin group. While Qin Yu wasn't good at running a company, he wasn't a spendthrift, so he could probably hold on for a month or so. Besides, Qin Yu has a daughter, and he was the heir to the Qin family. Qin Yu's rise to power was a matter of course. I'm leaving. Take care, sister. Qin Yu bid farewell to the Golden Mountain God and, at his sister's behest, began his journey back to Blue Star. Qin Yu carried the weapon forged for him by the Golden Mountain God, a sword imbued with extraordinary power. It would continuously enhance Qin Yu's physical fitness and make him invincible on Blue Star. Blue Star, a mere plane, had no existence capable of matching the power of an extraordinary level. Let the celebration begin. Elsewhere, Bai Luo officially declared the ceremony open. This time, far more people had come than ever before, and that didn't even include the hundreds of thousands of miracle children from Qingquan Kingdom and the 200,000 people from Zhuxia Kingdom. If they were included, it would have been a truly grand occasion. However, Bai Luo hadn't invited them yet. Meals had to be eaten one bite at a time, and things had to be done one step at a time. After the ceremony, Bai Luo would first contact the 200,000 people of the Great Wilderness. They were a blank slate, making them the perfect fit. The miracle children of Qingquan Kingdom weren't bad either. Many of their leaders were trained by my uncle. Now that my uncle and Qingquan were married, Bai Luo had them as his guarantors, making it easy for the Qingquan people to accept him. The only problem was the Eastern Empire, which Bai Luo couldn't understand, and he had to rely on Yingmu Ayan's cooperation. Isn't my sister here yet? Bai Luo had already notified Yingmu Ayan, but she seemed preoccupied and hadn't replied yet. Without the Eastern Empress, Bai Luo couldn't proceed with the ceremony. So they had to reverse the order, letting everyone have a good time first, then announcing their acquisition of numerous miracles that evening and having them swear allegiance. Xiao Luo, finally, Ying Mulian arrived. Sister, why are you here so late? Ying Mulian had become Bai Luo's miracle creature, rapidly warming their bond. Bai Luo found her increasingly kind and gentle. He'd been a little uncomfortable calling her sister before, but now, it felt like a matter of course, without any qualms. Did you find Twilight? You knew? Bai Luo, not expecting Ying Mulian to know, removed the God-Age Twilight from his waist and said, look, that's it. It's the first truly offensive, complete, supreme miracle I've ever obtained. Did it do anything to you? What? Bai Luo was stunned, somewhat confused. Do what? What can it do to me? Sister, what's wrong with you? Ying Mulian's reaction was strange. She didn't show any joy, but instead her eyes were filled with worry. Through the miracle connection, Bai Luo could clearly sense Ying Mulian's inner tension, and the source of this tension was surprisingly the supreme miracle in Bai Luo's possession, the divine age dusk. Dusk is not a good thing. Ying Mulian no longer concealed his feelings and said directly, it's dangerous. Very, very dangerous? Dangerous? Bai Luo had heard his uncle say similar things before, but he subconsciously felt that his uncle and Yingmu Ayang were both overly concerned. What kind of danger could it be? No matter how powerful dusk is, Bai Luo said matter-of-factly, I control it, not it controls me. Chapter 328 The Miracle That Affects the Master. Xiao Luo, why do you say that? Yingmu Ayang's tone was unusually nervous, even a little flustered, because Bai Luo's words were so strange, so unlike his style. Bai Luo looked at Ying Muang in confusion. Did I say something? Don't worry, sister. Bai Luo waved his hand. He felt that he was in a good mood at the moment. Dusk gives me a good feeling. I can hear its voice. It's like a cute child, longing for my affection. It's no different from Shirley, Lilith, and the others, but it's a very evil artifact. Ying Muang told Bai Luo about his conversation with the ancient emperor. Bai Luo's eyes flickered slightly, but he quickly regained his composure. I don't know what the ancient emperor based his judgment on. Dusk is just a weapon. Just because it has the power to destroy the world, Does that mean it's evil? I'm the one holding dusk. No, on the contrary, Bai Luo said, I think what you're talking about is a good thing. What? Yingmu Yang didn't understand why he said that. The Eastern Empress had no ill intentions. As Bai Luo's miracle creature, she had a duty to protect him and keep him on his toes. She didn't want Bai Luo to abandon Huanghan, but simply hoped he would be more rational and sensible. Yet, for some reason, Yingmu Yang had the illusion that Bai Luo was being controlled by Huanghan. But how could this be possible? Miracle creatures and the Lord of Miracles were closely connected, and Yingmu Yang was certain that Bai Luo was not being controlled by anyone. But this strange feeling made her keenly aware that something was amiss. Of course it's a good thing. Bai Luo held Huanghan high in his hand, examining it in the moonlight. The power to destroy the world, doesn't that speak to Huanghan's strength? Great, that's great. With it, Atón will possess the military might to truly challenge the kings. Bai Luo looked at Yingmu Yang. If this isn't a good thing, how could it be a bad thing? As for destroying the world, I'm not crazy. As long as I don't have the intention to do so, will Huanghan destroy the world on its own? There was something wrong with that statement. Bai Luo wanted a strong empire, not the destruction of everything. After all, if the world were truly destroyed, the Atón Empire, Maya, Sheila, Elsa, and the others would also die. How could Bai Luo possibly do such a thing? Therefore, fundamentally, Bai Luo could not possibly truly destroy the world. If you mean destroying others, Bai Luo shook his head, smiling in confusion. Sister, why are you worrying about others? Bai Luo's attitude has always been clear, treat his own people well and punish his enemies harshly. If the kings were sensible and willing to form an alliance with him and have friendly exchanges, Bai Luo would be very willing to recognize the cultural diversity of the miracle world. He respected King Aole, Queen Cain, and the others, and he also felt that the miracle world could not have only Atón as a country. That would be too boring. But at the same time, he would not hesitate to wipe out any power that dared to challenge Bai Luo and threaten Atón. Bai Luo believed that dusk was a good thing because it gave Atón the capital to do so. Power. Incomparably powerful power. Even the ancient emperor, who had lived for countless ages, was afraid. Especially when he heard Yingmu Yang say that all the lords of miracles in the world were about to be born, and the horror on his face. Bai Luo truly felt that dusk was remarkable. It was powerful, powerful enough to allow Bai Luo to protect Atón and his people, and protect them from being bullied or looked down upon by anyone. I didn't. Yingmu Yang had a cold and domineering personality, but with Bai Luo, she was just a gentle and virtuous sister. She could sense that Bai Luo was not joking, he was genuinely angry. Because Yingmu Yang was actually worried about outsiders. Bai Luo wasn't wielding dusk against the Eastern Empire, nor was he targeting Xiuxia, Qingquan, Aole, Shangsu, and other places. Those were countries he considered friendly. As for the Lord of the White Birch Tree, the Iron Eagle King, and the like, was the Eastern Empress worried about them? Just because Bai Luo possessed nuclear weapons, Yingmu Yang started preaching? What kind of thing was this? Others weren't even afraid yet, but their own family was already in turmoil. Don't use nuclear weapons. It's immoral, it's inhumane. Could Bai Luo leave his nuclear weapons unused, only to have his own people fight? His enemies are humane, but what about the Atón? Xiao Luo, let me explain, Yingmu Yang said anxiously. You're not in the right state right now. Calm down. The Eastern Empress possessed a high degree of autonomy. However, a miraculous creature was still a miraculous creature. Even if Bai Luo couldn't invoke the law, Yingmu Yang still felt distressed and pained when he pleaded with her heart, or even rebuked her. Just like now, when Bai Luo implied that she was not firm in her stance, Yingmu Yang felt wronged. Under normal circumstances, Yingmu Yang would have surely beaten Bai Luo. But not now. Her dependent brother fell ill, and Yingmu Yang felt like the anxious sister who didn't know where to seek medical treatment, distraught but unable to find a way. Yingmu Yang's stance was naturally firm, and she stood firmly by Bai Luo's side. Even if one day Bai Luo wanted to kill Gongsun Wu, Yingmu Yang would still do it, even if it would inflict immense pain, even heartbreak. But what was wrong with Bai Luo? He had always had a high emotional intelligence and would never say such hurtful things. She's too much of a bother, kill her, ugh. Suddenly, Bai Luo put his hand to his head, his expression changing dramatically, his eyes shifting. Xiao Luo, clutching Yingmu Yang's hand tightly, Bai Luo gasped. What's wrong with me? I thought I heard someone talking just now. But what did they say? Bai Luo couldn't hear clearly, only subconsciously feeling horrified and a deep sense of resistance. What a strange weapon. His uncle hurried over, having received Ying Muiyang's notification and immediately come to investigate. You're finally here. Ying Muiyang was at a loss for what to do with Bai Luo. She thought of her uncle, knowing that this old man, a true miracle, would have a solution. Xiao Luo, are you Xiao Luo? What else? Bai Luo, supported by Ying Mulian, sat down in a chair. He wasn't frail, but rather inexplicably excited. It wasn't an attempt to cheer himself up, but rather, like someone who'd taken too many stimulants, he desperately suppressed the throbbing within. What's going on with this dusk, Bai Luo? It seems to affect me. But how is that possible? Miracles are the product of the will of the miracle master. In other words, evil people receive evil miracles, and good people receive good miracles. But regardless of whether a miracle is evil or good, if the recipient is kind-hearted, then the evil miracle will become a good miracle. Just like Bai Luo's previous experiences, the greedy giant wolf and the ancient tales, both transformed by Bai Luo's own will. I've seen a supreme miracle before. The old uncle's curse came from the supreme, but Bai Luo didn't know this. He said, supreme miracles are different from ordinary miracles. Other miracles evolve and manifest their power under the will of their masters, but the supreme, the old uncle said, is a miracle that influences its master. Chapter 329 The Dusk That Cannot Be Abandoned. Then, what should we do? Bai Luo asked his uncle and Ying Muiyang. Meanwhile, his senior sister also arrived. You're here? Seeing Isifia approach, Ying Muiyang felt a sense of discomfiture. Lately, his senior sister had been spending more and more time in seclusion, and in turn, less time with Bai Luo. This sword is a world-destroying artifact, the senior sister suggested. The heroic spirits say it's extremely dangerous, so, Bai Luo's gaze lingered over the three of them, then settled on the God-Age twilight he held. Should I abandon it? None of them spoke, but from Bai Luo's understanding of Ying Muiyang, she probably felt the same way. As for his senior sister, she probably wanted to keep Twilight. After all, no matter how evil Twilight was, it wouldn't harm Bai Luo. The heroic spirits had told her that Twilight was the most loyal and supreme miracle of the highest order. Unlike sluts like Li Guang, it was truly devoted and loyal. If that was the case, then it seemed there was no need to abandon Twilight. Finally, his uncle. What Bai Luo really wanted to hear was precisely this old man's opinion. Although Bai Luo trusted his senior sister and Ying Muiyang just as much, they had a disagreement. At this time, the uncle's opinion would largely influence Bai Luo's choice. However, that wasn't the uncle's opinion. Do you want to abandon it, eh? Bai Luo said. I don't know. Then do you want to keep it? Well, Bai Luo hesitated, but the uncle had already seen what he meant. Dusk was very likely the most powerful miracle. Who could easily abandon such a power like a nuclear weapon? In the past, Bai Luo's excuse was I don't need your miracle, but now? Can Bai Luo still use this as an excuse? When the benefits are so great that they exceed your ability to bear, can you still judge and think calmly? Dusk possesses the power to allow me, Atón, to single-handedly challenge the entire world. The old uncle had already shared the crucial information with his senior sister and Ying Mulian, and he made this judgment. If I'm not mistaken, Xiao Luo, you can ask it right now how to become stronger. What? You should be able to ask it, the old uncle said. Try to communicate with it, ask it what it wants, communicating with a miracle. But Dusk was just a miracle, it shouldn't have thoughts. Okay, the old uncle always found ways to hide. Bai Luo immediately immersed himself in Dusk's emotions, sensing Dusk's emotions. Can you hear me? Yes, yes. This was the first time Bai Luo had felt Dusk's emotions. It was responding to him. Though it was very immature, like a newborn baby, Bai Luo could sense it. The old uncle was right, Dusk could communicate with him. What do you want? Why did you control me before? I want to protect my master. Dusk's thoughts were fragmented, but its meaning was clear. Dusk didn't control Bai Luo, it simply wanted to protect him. As for how to protect him, it was naturally to make Bai Luo strong enough. Only then could he protect himself. Kill them, destroy, evolve. Huang Hen's method of acquiring pheromones was unique. By killing enough enemies, it could continuously evolve at an astonishing rate. A miracle that grows stronger simply by killing enemies. Ying Muiyang's face darkened after hearing Bai Luo's retelling. No wonder it's called the miracle of destruction. Is it trying to destroy the entire miracle world? But if it's protecting the master, the senior sister thought. Huanghan, it doesn't seem so evil. It didn't answer the most crucial question. Meanwhile, the old uncle said coldly, Xiao Luo, let it explain this. Yes, all three were intrigued by Huanghan's last two pieces of information, but Bai Luo's real question was why Huanghan wanted to control him. A miracle that controlled its master. With Bai Luo's personality, he would never keep such a thing. If one couldn't control power, wouldn't one become a slave to it? Master, you are very weak. Your heart, very weak. Huanghan acted the way he did because Bai Luo was too weak. He wanted to protect Bai Luo, not just now, but in the future. Huanghan worried that Bai Luo would be harmed in the future because of his current kindness and weakness. Thus, Huanghan began to influence Bai Luo, making him even more tyrannical and cruel. Only in this way could Bai Luo continue to grow stronger and eliminate his weaknesses. Indeed, Huanghan did not want Bai Luo to have any weaknesses. He wanted to forge Bai Luo into the perfect, eternal ruler. That's an explanation. Ying Mu'ayan and his senior sister exchanged a look of helplessness, both revealing a simultaneous expression of helplessness. Miraculous. Yes, senior sister, miraculous. What Ying Mu'ayan had done before seemed no different from what Huanghan was doing now. In fact, senior sister had made a similar decision before, such as sacrificing herself to uncover the secrets of the trading house. To protect the Lord of Miracles, miracles truly were capable of anything. It was the same. The Eastern Empress and the senior sister felt they couldn't blame the divine age dusk. It had been born a miracle, intent on making up for Bai Luo's shortcomings. While there was a suspicion of control, what exactly was control? A teacher instructs a student, encouraging calmness and a willingness to learn. Isn't that an influence? Who says cruelty and coldness are necessarily bad influences? Uncle, Bai Luo asked the old man for his opinion. He smoked quietly, his expression not serious, but rather a casual, nonchalant expression. Honestly, I don't quite believe what it says. The uncle expressed his opinion, that dusk hadn't revealed everything. Of course, that wasn't Dusk's fault, it was Bai Luo's fault for not asking. But asking Bai Luo to ask a question he didn't understand wasn't going to work. But, that question isn't really a question. The uncle's next words pointed directly to Bai Luo's true feelings. Xiao Luo, you don't know whether to keep it, but ask yourself right now, are you willing to abandon Dusk? Can you abandon Dusk? The answer was obvious. Bai Luo had already contracted Dusk, established a connection with it. Before the contract, Bai Luo could abandon it without any violation. But once the contract was completed, it was not just a constraint on one party, but on both parties. Bai Luo, in fact, could not abandon Huanghan at all, just like he could not abandon Shirley or Lilith. The longer he was in contact with Huanghan, the more Bai Luo liked it. Huanghan is here, said the old uncle, let's think about how to use it. Chapter 330 Evil. With his uncle now in his current position, he was Bai Luo's miraculous creature, his uncle could presume to speak his heart out to him. Even a few scoldings wouldn't matter. Their relationship was incredibly close, transcending the former uncle-nephew relationship to shared ancestry closer than blood. Bai Luo trusted his uncle deeply, not just because of their relationship but also because of his wisdom. The old man had never disappointed Bai Luo, always. So, this time, Bai Luo still believed his uncle could find a solution. Bai Luo would obey. Even if his uncle told him to throw away Huanghan and stop using him, Bai Luo would choose his uncle. If Bai Luo had to choose between his uncle and Huanghan, he would choose his uncle without hesitation. Of course, the same would be true for everyone else. Of this one thing, Bai Luo was certain, he wouldn't abandon anyone else for Huanghan, absolutely not. However, his uncle couldn't do that. Even if he could, he couldn't. His uncle wasn't trying to control Bai Luo, to make him obey his will and act according to his will. If he did that, what would be the difference between his uncle and Huanghan? Because of this incident, Empress Dong repeatedly backed down. She couldn't blame Huanghan now. She had done something similar in the past, trying to control Bai Luo and make him obey her. But there's good news, the old uncle said. Huanghan can talk to you, which means it's capable of communication. That's good news. With that, the old uncle patted Bai Luo on the shoulder and puffed away on his cigarette. The cloud of smoke obscured the uncle's expression. Yes, Bai Luo nodded, looking at the Huanghan in his hand. Every miracle should be carefully developed and guided. If you abandon a miracle simply because it has problems, you're not truly a miracle master. In Bai Luo's view, if every miracle perfectly matched him, that would be a strange thing. It was normal for some unexpected events to occur. Besides, Huanghan was so powerful, some side effects were not unacceptable. I will have a good conversation with it and guide it on the right path. Huanghan would become a vital force in protecting Atón. Bai Luo had great patience and tolerance for his own miracles. Then the matter is settled, the old uncle said. Xiao Luo, you can go inform everyone and perform the final ritual. You're crazy. After Bai Luo left, Yingmu Yang looked at the old uncle in shock. You, what are you doing? That miracle is dangerous, extremely dangerous. Can't you see that? Huanghan was certainly powerful, but a miracle that even its master dared to control was no longer a question of danger or not, but terrifying, utterly terrifying. Even I might have done something to Xiao Luo. In the previous incident, Yingmu Yang had told Bai Luo about anything she was going to do. Even if she had to force him, she would never interfere with his will, like hypnosis or bewitching him. That was impossible. Her coercion was only physical, not mental. But what about Huanghan? It had become so arrogant that it was beginning to control its master. How could this be tolerated? Father, Isifia said to the old uncle, what you said to Xiao Luo earlier was very unlike you. Did you say that on purpose? The senior sister knew the old uncle better than the empress did, so she guessed and saw it. I have to say this, the old uncle puffed on his cigarette, his eyes more serious than ever. Can't you see? Xiao Luo hasn't woken up yet. Yes, Bai Luo wasn't awake. The dusk still bewitched him, making him unconscious. Just looking at his reaction just now, the old uncle could tell with a few simple tests that the Bai Luo before him was completely abnormal. From what I know about Xiao Luo, the old uncle said. Normally, in a situation like that, he would immediately drop this dangerous weapon, but what happened? Look at Bai Luo just now. He clung to the dusk, refusing to even let go. If he said it was Bai Luo's own greed, the old uncle wouldn't believe it. Bai Luo was the old uncle's personal trainee, his greatest achievement. You have to know that the first lesson the old uncle taught Bai Luo was how to resist temptation, maintain his identity in the face of all beauty, and stay true to his heart. If a mere handful of dusk hadn't done anything to Bai Luo, why would Bai Luo be so reluctant to let go? How evil, how arrogant, such a miracle is simply unheard of. The uncle's hand trembled as he smoked, anger building. As Bai Luo's miracle, the uncle, the empress, and the senior sister were naturally all in the same group. Huanghan was like a newcomer, an outsider. If that were all, the uncle and the others should have protected this newcomer. But what had it done? From the start, it not only competed for Bai Luo's favor, but also constantly bewitched him. Now, it was controlling him. Why did Xiao Luo get Huanghan? The uncle couldn't understand. The scope of the Black Book was definitely not that vast. Now isn't the time to dwell on this, the senior sister interrupted. We should think of a way to wake Xiao Luo. The queen is right, Yingmu Yan agreed with the senior sister. The most urgent thing is to rescue Xiao Luo. Even Yingmu Yan was troubled by this. Oh my god, what was going on? A miracle actually controlled its master. Was there any justice or law? Even if Yingmu Yan and his senior sister struck Bai Luo, they would have been heartbroken, yet Huanghan dared to do such a thing. Who gave them the courage? What should we do then? Bai Luo was like a snake's weak spot. The empress and his senior sister were completely controlled by Huanghan, and they dared not act rashly. Bai Luo was their leader, their heart, their most important person, and no one could afford to lose him. Therefore, no matter how cautious they were, it was never too late. 2 ways, the old uncle said. I've tested it before. Little Luo is still little Luo. Just before, when the old uncle tapped Bai Luo's shoulder, he had actually used force. It wasn't forceful, but enough to hurt Bai Luo. But what was the result? Bai Luo, no reaction at all. What did this mean? It meant that this was Bai Luo, the old uncle's master of miracles. As a miracle, he could never hurt Bai Luo, not even in the slightest. What should we do now? The 2 women exchanged glances, each racked with a headache. Miracles cannot hurt masters of miracles. This is an iron rule. It's not that they can't, but that they can't. Just like how the old uncle, when exerting his power earlier, subconsciously retracted it, unwilling to harm Bai Luo. Some sacrifices must be made, the old uncle pleaded with him. If something uncontrollable arises, I want you to be prepared to die once. Miracles that defy their master's will are doomed. But that's not a problem, because as soon as Bai Luo recovers, he'll definitely summon them back. Yes, I do. The 2 women didn't hesitate. The old uncle wasn't sending them to their deaths, he had his own plan. Of course, Plotting against the Master of Miracles had cost the old uncle nearly half his life. This was why the old uncle wanted the two women to sacrifice themselves, rather than himself. After he finalized his plan, he likely wouldn't be able to participate in the ensuing battle to defend the king. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331 Arrogant Dusk. You mentioned the first method, so there's more than one, Ying Muian asked. What are the other options? Not many, the old uncle replied. Actually, there are only two, but I'm reluctant to use the second method. After all, this is our business, the old uncle said. Adults' affairs shouldn't be burdened by children. The old uncle didn't specify what the second method was, but senior sister and Empress Dong understood his meaning. It was a situation Bai Luo absolutely didn't want to encounter. Remember, don't reveal your true feelings, the old uncle was strict. Dusk's IQ isn't high. Although evil, it's more like a child, ignorant and acting on instinct. Dusk doesn't understand Bai Luo, so it could accidentally do something Bai Luo can't accept, truly awakening him. Therefore, an opportunity is needed. Seize the moment, strike in a split second, and separate Bai Luo from Dusk. In just a moment, the old uncle believed Bai Luo would use his own willpower to break free from Dusk's constraints. Begin, soon, everyone, summoned by Bai Luo, gathered in the world of Avalon. Originally, Bai Luo hadn't planned to be here. He'd chosen to gather the people of the Seven Islands to admire twilight together. This was truly a complete waste of time. With Bai Luo's personality, how could he possibly be so flamboyant? But twilight, it was too complacent. Whether there was any ulterior motive, Uncle couldn't tell, but its constant urging of its master to flaunt its presence to his people clearly showed its sinister intentions. Most people would have been too busy hiding twilight, so how could it be so exposed? Wasn't Twilight worried that the other nations would learn of it and, fearing its existence, form an alliance against Atón? A new miracle, another new miracle, we should be used to it. After all, his big brother Bai Luo, Maya, Abaddon, Souster, Elsa, Sheila, Fyra, Little John, and the rest of the Atón clan had already been waiting. As the oldest members of the clan, and Bai Luo's closest siblings, they were undoubtedly standing closest to Bai Luo. It feels so good, Bai Luo stood on the high ground. His uncle felt like he was being controlled, but Bai Luo's subjective consciousness didn't feel that way. Instead, Bai Luo felt as if he had opened the door to a new world. Like being drunk, or high on drugs, he felt completely euphoric. All his previous fears, dread, and terrors had vanished completely. This was all because of Dusk, because Bai Luo possessed the power of fearlessness. Dusk had given Bai Luo confidence. He no longer needed to worry or be afraid, nor did he need to worry about accumulating food and slowly becoming king. Just now, just a moment ago, Dusk had demonstrated its power to Bai Luo and how to enhance it. Kill. It didn't matter if they were the Lord of Miracles, the original miracle, its people, its derivatives, or even dimensional beings or non-miracle mortals. Kill. The more they killed, the stronger they became. War. It would be even better if their existence was known to others. How could those ragtag chickens and dunghills stand a chance against Dusk? Kill them all, and let the miracles belong to one person. Miracles cannot harm their masters, this is an ironclad law, not even Dusk. But it can dispel Bai Luo's inner worries and fears. But when a person's heart is freed from restraint, their state will never be much better than Bai Luo's current state. This is one of the side effects of Dusk. Those who possess it no longer suppress themselves, but instead release themselves to their fullest, free to do whatever they desire. Are you all here yet? Bai Luo glanced down. The Dusk had caused a drastic change in his mood, but his affection for the children remained the same. This alone was Bai Luo's bottom line. His power was to protect Atón and his family. Without them, even giving Bai Luo invincible power would be meaningless. If a person loses even what they want to protect, what are they fighting for? This is why, upon receiving Dusk, Bai Luo didn't immediately go out to kill the enemy and grow stronger, but instead wanted to gather them. His subconscious definition of power led Bai Luo to come here first, to show them Dusk, to let them understand that Dusk gave Bai Luo greater power, and that Bai Luo would protect them. Brother Bai Luo, Maya is the closest to Bai Luo. She had heard that Bai Luo had obtained 3 miracles, but for some reason, Bai Luo kept talking about the sword in his hand. You got 3 miracles, right? What about the other 2? That's not important, huh? This time, Bai Luo heard Huang'an's voice. It was jealous, even disgusted. Bai Luo's favor belonged to Huang'an, and only to Huang'an. It hated anything that would take away Bai Luo's love. The other 2, Bai Luo wanted to call Qingquan, Liaoshu, and Ali over, but for some reason, he changed the subject. Compared to Huang'an, the other miracles are actually not important. The moment these words came out, there was an uproar. Of course, no one was blaming Bai Luo. Maya and the others didn't see anything wrong with Bai Luo's words, because Bai Luo's words weren't meant to disparage other miracles. On the contrary, Bai Luo was highlighting Huang'an's power. Look, Huang'an was so powerful that with it, no other miracles were needed. What a powerful miracle! With dusk, we're invincible. Is it such a powerful miracle? Little Helen was young, but she still raised her hand. What is it? Is it the same power as teacher Lilith, much stronger than Lilith? Bai Luo blurted out, and that was Dusk's truest thought. Then can you show us? No one had any doubts, they simply wanted to witness Dusk's power. This was what Bai Luo had always done with every new miracle. The Atón family had long been accustomed to it, and they all looked at Bai Luo with great anticipation, their attention fixed on the dusk in his hands. I have a bad feeling. At this moment, the uncle's heart suddenly palpitated. He vaguely sensed that his composure was changing, so he stepped forward. Xiao Luo, why don't you show it? Why? Bai Luo looked back at his uncle, then at the children below. Uncle, look how excited they are. We're all family. They want to see it, so of course I have to perform. It was like a beloved sibling, or a doting daughter tugging on your pants leg, whispering to you to perform a magic trick. Could you bear to refuse such a request? Xiao Luo, the uncle tried to persuade him again, but Bai Luo interrupted him. It's okay, uncle, Bai Luo assured his uncle, but the scene filled his uncle with worry. Oh no, the uncle had no idea what was going on, but he had a feeling something was amiss. His premonitions were always accurate, but this time, Bai Luo, under the influence of dusk, had lost his mind and didn't take his words to heart. Chapter 332, Raging Flames. Come, let me show you my Atón's greatest miracle. Bai Luo raised the Age of God's dusk in his hand, then, under the expectant gaze of countless Atonians, he pulled it out. At that moment, Bai Luo stood in the Great Hall of Avalon Castle, the throne of the 7 kings behind him. Ahead, the most important Atonians gathered. Even Helbo had rushed back specially to attend this important ceremony. Swish, Bai Luo plucked dusk from the Age of Gods. While not as dazzling and magnificent as Li Guang's, it still had its own beauty. Dusk's blade was a crimson jade, like red-hot iron fresh from a furnace. Through the halo of light, Bai Luo could see the patterns engraved on the blade. They looked like words, yet also like patterns, as if telling some ancient and sacred story. While not possessing the same universe as Li Guang, Dusk was far more pure. Yes, pure beauty. Its color was a simple orange-red, yet this simple hue held a captivating power, seemingly drawing one's very soul inward. Just like gold, it lacked the dazzling brilliance of a rainbow, yet it possessed a uniquely captivating power, drawing one deeply into its embrace. The same was true of Dusk, possessing the same terrifying power. Wave me, master, with a single wave of your hand, you can wipe everything from this world. Wave, Bai Luo heard, or rather, his mind automatically conjured up the idea of how to use Dusk. It was a weapon, and since it was a weapon, a sword, it must be swung and chopped. However, Bai Luo knew this was merely a performance. Dusk wasn't a melee weapon, it was more like a switch. If Bai Luo desired, he could use the commands draw, sheath, twist, or squeeze, as switches to unleash Dusk's power. Waving wasn't necessary. He allowed Bai Luo to wield it because it suited the sword's usage, nothing more. Swing it, just gently, swing it. Bai Luo closed his eyes, feeling the power of Dusk, but he still had his sanity and couldn't use it within the castle. Everyone, follow me out. Soon, Bai Luo led the people of Atón out of the castle. They headed straight for Lake Avalon, where there was a source of water. Although Dusk wasn't a fire element, Bai Luo perceived it as fire, hence why Dusk appeared as a flaming sword. After all, to humans, fire was the purest form of destruction. Burning to ashes. Here it comes, everyone, watch. This is the power of Dusk. With those words, Bai Luo fiercely swung Dusk forward. The world of Avalon was a world of miracles, boundless and limitless, and even the highest level miracles couldn't easily destroy it. Furthermore, Bai Luo hadn't issued an order to destroy the world of Avalon, so what's going on? Just as Bai Luo was thinking this, a chill suddenly struck his heart. Oh no, fire, Your Majesty, this fire, put it out, put it out. Flames, endless flames, surged from dusk. Lake Avalon ahead instantly boiled and evaporated, and vast tracts of forest were reduced to ash in an instant, as if exposed to a nuclear storm. But that wasn't what Bai Luo was focusing on. Behind him, the flames surged towards the Atón people. What are you doing? Bai Luo couldn't understand Dusk's purpose. It was attacking the Atón people. It was going to devour them. Dusk's attack doesn't distinguish between friend and foe. The old uncle made the immediate assessment. With his words, Yingmu Ain was the first to strike. With a wave of her hand, a large number of Atón people vanished from the world of Avalon, transported by the Eastern Queen to her own world. What's going on? Yingmu Ain looked at what lay before her. The Atón people here weren't numerous, only a few tens of thousands in total. With her abilities, she could easily toss hundreds of millions, not tens of thousands, into her world with a simple wave of her hand. But now, Yingmu Ain discovered there were still at least 1,000 people, and she couldn't even move them. It's fire, the old man yelled. Everyone, take off your clothes. Stay away from the flames. Don't touch them, everyone, get behind me. Following Yingmu Ain was Ali. She leaped over the crowd and swung her axe at the raging flames. Boom, the dusk flame was ripped apart by the axe, but the very act seemed to enrage the flames, intensifying their fury. Mom, Elsa raised her hands and released a torrent of ice and snow, attempting to extinguish the flames on Diana's clothes. Bang! Instead of extinguishing, the flames absorbed Elsa's ice and snow, suddenly growing taller. Take it off. Kinquin ripped Diana's cloak away, but a wisp of flame had already landed on the woman's arm. Diana's willpower was unquestionable, but the soul-tearing pain of Dusk's burning flames instantly ripped her defenses apart, and she let out a heart-wrenching scream. Let me try the water of origin. Stop. The old uncle quickly grabbed Kinquin, then looked at old Reed. Brother Reed, I know. Years of tacit understanding had made old Reed immediately understand his uncle's intention. He drew his sword, and without a single swing, the flames on Diana's arm were already detached. He took the flesh from his arm. This flame couldn't touch it, otherwise it would stick, impossible to extinguish or remove. Old Reed, with his superb swordsmanship, instantly ripped away the skin from Diana's arm, minimizing the damage. Weakness? No, old Reed said to Kinquin, this fire will take root. Once it's inside the body, my attack will be useless. Another point, the range couldn't be too large, because old Reed's attack wasn't just any ordinary slash, he was also wielding miraculous power. If a large-scale skin removal were truly carried out, it would likely cause irreversible damage to the Atón. Hiss, Shirley flapped her wings, shielding the Atón from Dusk's flames. The flames landed on Shirley's wings, causing her immediate pain, but Shirley knew it wouldn't be enough to truly kill her. Dusk might be powerful, but Shirley was the miracle itself. With just these derived flames, Shirley's miracle power was endless, and it couldn't. Hiss what? The next moment, a vast mass of flames coalesced into Pegasus. Among them were nightmares, 8-legged divine steeds, and silver-winged Pegasus, but all of them were composed of ash and flame, eerie and terrifying. Shirley, come back. Lilith, who had been hovering above Shirley, immediately transformed into human form upon encountering this situation, then unleashed her fairy magic upon the flames. Whoosh, the flames vanished, successfully transformed into countless petals by Lilith. Boom, what's going on? The petals turned into flames again in Lilith's incredible eyes. My ability is invalid. No, Lilith trembled all over, because she felt her fairy power in this dusk fire. It swallowed up the miraculous power of Shirley and me. Chapter 333, 1 verses 10. Damn it, elsewhere, Bai Luo had regained consciousness. He immediately grasped Dusk, preparing to insert it back into the Age of Gods. However, how could this happen? Resistance, immense resistance, prevented Bai Luo from sheathing Dusk. What are you doing? Strength, I need food. Food, what food? Where can I get Dusk's food here? Bai Luo's heart sank. He glanced at the Atón people dodging and fleeing in the flames. In that moment, Bai Luo understood everything. Dusk was just as his uncle and Yingmu Ain had described it, a profoundly evil miracle. It didn't just discriminate between foes and allies. It considered everything its food. Atón people or enemies alike. If dusk went berserk, it would devour them all. It wasn't that the supreme miracle didn't need pheromones, the only one that didn't require them was the Four Sages corridor. But the supreme miracle, on the other hand, didn't need humans. Unlike other miracles that relied on the support of miracle subjects, the supreme miracle's method of growth was extremely overbearing and swift. Dusk only needs destruction. With each destruction, it grows stronger. "Li girl," Ying Mulian exclaimed, "we must eliminate these flames at their root." Ying Mulian knew the terrifying power of a supreme miracle. She had faced an incomplete Li Guang before, and its power was beyond the reach of ordinary miracles. Fortunately, Bai Luo didn't swing dusk directly at her. Even Ying Mulian would have had to avoid such an attack. Understood. Ali understood the Eastern Empress's intention. She opened her mouth and forcefully swallowed a large amount of dusk's fire. Ugh, the intense pain was almost like a knife stabbing her, but Ali possessed an immortal body, while the dusk's fire was merely a rootless duckweed. This made Ali, like a fire extinguisher, successfully extinguish the flames. Cough cough cough, Ali's stomach throbbed with pain, but she couldn't stop. Bai Luo, standing nearby, wasn't idle either. She rushed into the dusk's fire, seeking out her companions engulfed in flames. She was a remnant of the Shilin people, shrouded in the indestructible power of the Shilin people. As long as this power remained, not only her body but even her clothing remained undamaged. In a sense, her clothing, like Bai Luo, was considered a part of the Shilin people. "Give me your hand." Despite this, Bai Luo's back was still pierced by the flames of dusk. The excruciating pain, like a maggot clinging to her bones, was Xiaobei's willpower. Anyone else would have been rolling on the ground. Xiaobei, Fira saw Xiaobei, and at that moment, the flames began to transform at a speed visible to the naked eye. The once simple waves of flame merged into lifelike creatures of flame, as if they had real consciousness, pouncing towards the Atón people who had been unable to escape. Fairy magic, dusk had absorbed a portion of Lilith's power, and its flames took on the properties of fairy power. What's with this weapon? Qingquan stood beside her uncle. She had witnessed Dusk's evolution firsthand and finally understood why her uncle had stopped her. Dusk can continuously draw miraculous power from other miracles, becoming more perfect and diverse. Once it reaches even more miracles, Dusk will be truly invincible. Then, no one will be able to stop this supreme world-destroying sword, possessing dozens, even hundreds, of absolute special properties. How arrogant. You don't even take me seriously, even if you're a supreme miracle, Ying Muiyan exclaimed, growing increasingly furious. You're only a miracle that's been around for a single day. With just one day, they thought they could rival a miracle with over 10,000 years of experience. How arrogant. Back off, Ying Muiyan raised her hand. If Dusk's flames were all-encompassing, then the Eternal Emperor was boundless. Planes, dimensions, and dimensionalities continuously gathered in Ying Muiyan's hands. She materialized her power, hundreds, thousands of powerful powers, like impenetrable crystal barriers, severing and separating the Dusk's flames, then forcibly imprisoning them. The flames of Dusk were fragmented into countless sparks, as if trapped in a glass bottle. Empress Dong cast them into various concepts under her control and dominion. Then, wielding her miraculous power, far surpassing even the power of her own five senses, she forcibly suppressed Dusk's fury, temporarily preventing it from advancing. You're not invincible, I'm here, Ying Muiyan, how dare you, roar. The remaining flames coalesced into a fiery dragon, roaring angrily at Empress Dong. But it wasn't over yet, as Dusk continued to release energy. Tisk, Ying Muiyan's power was undoubtedly limitless. Even if Dusk continued to release flames, no matter how much, their battle could continue forever. Ying Muiyan possessed countless powers and could have carried Dusk away, but Dusk would also continue to release flames symbolizing destruction. Like any other miraculous battle, there would be no outcome between them, never. However, this presupposed that Bai Luo didn't attack directly with Dusk. The fire of Dusk was merely a derivative, Dusk was the true form. As a flesh and blood creature of a higher-level miracle creature, Ying Muiyan had no confidence that he could withstand Dusk, he would literally die. However, Ying Muiyan believed that Bai Luo would never do such a thing. If that were to happen, Ying Muiyan might actually have to call it quits. Because Dusk's wielder was Bai Luo, she couldn't possibly harm him. In other words, Bai Luo was immune to all her abilities, while she wasn't immune to Dusk. This was already a good outcome, at least the Eastern Empress wasn't bound by Bai Luo's laws. If it were Shirley and Lilith, a single glance from Bai Luo would likely have them limp to the ground, powerless to resist. To some extent, Dusk had exploited the gaps between Bai Luo and the other miracles, exerting immense pressure on them. "Can you still hold on?" the senior sister came to Ying Muang, who said, "Not bad. If that's all, I can hold off the rest by myself." "Have you rescued everyone?" "Most of them," the senior sister said. "But there are still a few, possibly deep within the flames. Is there anything we can do?" Ali, Xiao Bei, the two of them were the most extraordinary miracles of Bai Luo's defense and vitality. Ying Muang estimated that even if Dusk pierced through them, it might not kill them. "Unkillable? I'm almost vomiting blood." Ali was speechless. She had been planning to enjoy a peaceful life in Yatan, but this act of swallowing Dusk's flames raw was too much. I tried my best." Meanwhile, Bai Luo was also dying from the burns. "It hurts so much." She was even more miserable than Ali, her skin covered in burns, and in many places, even the white bones were exposed. Although they were rapidly resisting the Dusk's erosion and gradually recovering, the pain was unbearable, making it difficult to carry out the usual rescue efforts. As for the other miracles, Shirley, Lilith, Guji Kitten, Tanchi, and Kinquin, they couldn't resist the fire of Dusk. If they went up, they would probably be burned half to death by Dusk, and along the way, the information elements of the miracle power they had painstakingly accumulated over the years would be taken away. Chapter 334, Star God. "What's going on here? It's burning, so much fire." No, this isn't fire, it's simply the power of destruction." Over the azure starry sea of Avalon, vast phantoms gazed down from the very edge of the universe. They saw the blazing world and determined the source of this power, Dusk. "Dusk's power seems out of control. We can't stop it arbitrarily. If our power is also consumed by Dusk, it will become even more difficult to deal with." A familiar aura, that of the great emperor. "Dusk may be powerful, but he's only just awakened. He's no match for the great emperor at his peak, but we still need some help." Dusk continued to unleash its flames, its power unending. Absorbing Shirley's conquering power and Lilith's fairy transformation, the flames possessed thoughts and will, becoming even more unpredictable. If it wasn't Bai Luo holding Dusk, but Isidore Muan, Ying Muan was confident he could fight him. Regardless of the outcome, Ying Muan would not be easily defeated. However, the situation now was completely different. Ying Muan was practically certain to lose. Between her and Bai Luo couldn't lose, she was the victor. Ying Muan was unable to unleash any killer moves or powerful forces. Unfortunately, the overall strength of the entire Atón team was still quite weak. Counting the outsiders, Senior Sister and Old Uncle were our strongest. But Senior Sister was only at the third awakening, still some distance from the fourth. With her current strength, she couldn't possibly fight Dusk. She hadn't even grasped the infinite power, so how could she possibly fight Dusk? Is there any way to stop it? Senior Sister manipulated the world of Avalon, minimizing Dusk's flammable area. But Dusk's fire only resembled fire, it wasn't fire itself, and it didn't conform to the laws of combustion. Oxygen, combustible materials, it was all bullshit. If Dusk wanted to destroy it, everything would be reduced to ashes. That depends on Bai Luo. Only if Bai Luo freed himself from his restraints could there be hope of ending Dusk's rampage. Otherwise, Bai Luo's will remained unbroken, and even they couldn't interfere with the Lord of Miracles' judgment and decision. But Bai Luo is engulfed by Dusk. The sisters observed the situation ahead. They couldn't see Bai Luo's whereabouts at all. Dusk was too cunning. It fiercely protected its master, then used the flames it emanated to devour everything, constantly strengthening itself and feeding back to its master, making Bai Luo stronger as well. What exactly does it want to do? Ying Muan had previously been accused of wavering by Bai Luo, but that was naturally an insult. She had always been on Bai Luo's side. She wanted Bai Luo to give up Dusk because she felt, from a Procon's perspective, that Dusk had only disadvantages, not advantages. Why? Because if Bai Luo wielded Dusk, nearly 200 Lords of Miracles worldwide would have a reason to form an alliance and declare war on the Principality of Atón. Could Dusk withstand such a situation? The answer was no, absolutely not. Therefore, Dusk was a scourge, having fallen into Bai Luo's hands prematurely. This was Ying Muan's attitude. She hoped Bai Luo could temporarily seal dusk, absolutely not exposing this nuclear weapon, in the eyes of the Lords of Miracles, during this period. Moreover, facts proved Ying Mu'ayan's suspicions. Dusk was truly dangerous. It was part enemy, part friend, and even killed its own people. If Bai Luo were conscious, he would never tolerate such a miracle. I don't understand what's going on with this dusk, but now, Ying Mu'ayan was confused. She realized that dusk didn't keep the power it absorbed for itself. Not only that, but the mortals continuously transferred it to Bai Luo, its master. In contrast, dusk merely acted as a bridge in this process. Its power was not stored within the sword, but entirely within Bai Luo's body. Its transforming Xiao Luo, the old uncle, was more perceptive than the senior sister and the Eastern Empress. He said, "Remember what Dusk said before? It wants to protect its master, so that's it." In an instant, the two women understood. Li Guang and Dusk were inherently indestructible. No matter what means were used, attempting to damage or destroy them was simply a fantasy. Miracles themselves were extremely strong, let alone miracles of the highest order. But was the true nature of Li Guang and Dusk, or rather, their fatal weakness, the weapons themselves? No, it's not. Whether it's Li Guang, Dusk, or even other miraculous objects, their weaknesses are clearly evident: their masters, their possessors, the people who wield them. Dusk is invincible, but Bai Luo, possessing Dusk, is not. Kill Bai Luo, and Dusk will be annihilated. Because I'm not strong enough, I want to protect my master. Dusk's basic judgment led him to choose to make Bai Luo as powerful as possible, both physically and mentally. In Dusk's view, his fondness for the Aiden clan is Bai Luo's greatest weakness. This weakness could become an opportunity to harm Bai Luo in the future, and Dusk must eliminate it before it's too late. Therefore, Fire, Elsa, and the others are all dangers and must be eliminated. Only if Bai Luo is sufficiently cold, brutal, domineering, and heartless can he be fearless in spirit. It's okay if Bai Luo can't do it, Dusk will help him. What are you looking at me for? Seeing both her senior sister and the old uncle looking at her, Ying Mu'ayan blushed. I'm not like Huanghan. It seemed the Eastern Empress had done something similar before. Everyone here could blame Huanghan, but not the Eastern Empress. After all, she had nearly crushed the Atón faction. Don't dwell on the cause, the old uncle said. Whatever Huanghan's motives, good or bad, at least we know that Xiao Luo doesn't want this to happen. Perhaps in the future, Bai Luo might become aloof, but right now, he wasn't. As a miracle being, this alone was enough for them to fight to the death for him. Only by waking Xiao Luo can we contain Huanghan, but it requires cutting off the source of Huanghan's power, otherwise, you can't even get close to him. This created a vicious cycle. Bai Luo was under Huanghan's protection, you had to enter to awaken him. But if you didn't awaken Bai Luo, how could you break Huanghan's protective circle? Boom! At that moment, the miracles all raised their heads. At the edge of their sight, four massive phantoms, as if formed from a galaxy, slowly lowered themselves. Senior sister felt a connection to them. These beings were the remnant consciousnesses dormant within the Avalon star realm. Previously dormant, they were awakened by the power of Dusk. A power that doesn't exist shouldn't exist, one of the phantoms said. Then, suddenly raising a hand, it caused the now raging Dusk to emit a humming sound. The source. Dusk's source has been severed. Ying Mu'ayan was incredulous. She had seen many Avalon queens before, but never had she seen anyone touch the Avalon star realm. What were these giants, capable of blocking the gate through which Dusk unleashed his miraculous power? Hurry up, another figure said as the phantom's body vanished. Even we can only hold Dusk back for a while. Chapter 335 Ancient Tree of the World. What is this place? In a world of nothingness, Bai Luo quietly floated in a void. Dark? Bai Luo couldn't tell if this place was truly dark. Maybe, maybe not. Because darkness didn't mean the absence of anything, at least there was still darkness. And this place, neither white nor black, lacking any other color. Bai Luo felt he could see it, yet it was as if he wasn't seeing with his eyes. Boom! Suddenly, Bai Luo saw a brilliant light. Yes, light, he saw light. It was a color like the universe, and Bai Luo couldn't describe it with any known color. If he had to force a definition, Bai Luo felt that this might be cosmic color, the true color of the universe. Not black, not simply bright, this was its true appearance. Dawn light, the word popped into Bai Luo's mind. This brilliance wasn't light, but civilization and wisdom that illuminated ignorance, darkness, and chaos. They brought innovation and creation. Is this the myth of Sui Liguang creating the world? Bai Luo initially thought, but he soon discovered he was mistaken. Within this murky landscape, colossal figures, whose exact size was unknown, began to emerge. They appeared humanoid, yet seemed composed of glass. These unknown creatures were completely transparent, allowing one to see the universe within them and the void beyond. What are they doing, wandering through the darkness and void? These ancient, humanoid creatures waved their arms, scattering crystalline, seed-like objects one by one. And then, like seedlings breaking through the soil, fresh, luminous branches began to grow. In the blink of an eye, a towering tree appeared before Bai Luo. No, it couldn't be called a towering tree. Rather than a tree, it was more like cracks in the world, and these luminous cracks were what Bai Luo mistook for trees. World tree. Information about this object popped up in Bai Luo's mind again. This tree was the world tree, but not the one from Norse mythology. Instead, it served as the carrier, framework, and foundation of the world, existing independently as the very essence of the world. And on each leaf and branch of the world tree, rested a round sphere, ablaze with stars, a galaxy that seemed endless. Is this also a creation myth? The creation myth of the miracle world. Boom boom boom. As Bai Luo pondered, the gigantic phantoms began to move, once again planting seeds, once again nurturing these seedlings. Thus, one world tree after another, sprouted from the void, flourishing. These phantoms toiled like tree shepherds. If the world tree created the world, then these gigantic phantoms were its planters. The seeds they sowed were the very root of the world. What exactly are they? Why are you showing me these? Bai Luo was puzzled, but soon he received the answer he sought. One of the phantoms raised its head, a look of terror on its face. Beyond its gaze, an unimaginable force engulfed Bai Luo's entire world. Dusk. Almost instantly, Bai Luo recognized the true nature of this force. It was truly dusk. But this time, dusk wasn't a sword. It lacked form, yet possessed unimaginable power. The massive tree that held the world in place was reduced to ash by dusk's force. The massive phantom tried to resist, but it couldn't, instantly pierced through and easily destroyed. Bang, bang, just as dusk raged, nearly tearing the entire primordial world apart, a series of knocking sounds reached Bai Luo's ears. A phantom raised its arm. Stirring the endless fragments of the world tree, the bodies of fallen phantoms, and even more things Bai Luo couldn't understand, let alone imagine, forging a force capable of countering dusk. Finally, the sword of Li Guang appeared. Its relationship to Li Guang was like the relationship between the sword of dusk and dusk in Bai Luo's hands. Li Guang existed from ancient times, but it was too powerful to truly descend upon the world, nor could it exist in the world. However, giant phantoms, grounded in vast concepts, finally forged a divine artifact capable of carrying Li Guang. Roar! The next moment, the giant phantom lifted Li Guang aloft. Each swing was like the entire world roaring at dusk, resisting its inevitable destruction. The world desired eternity, but dusk sought to bring an end to all things. Only this time, Li Guang triumphed. The phantom wielding Li Guang defeated dusk, successfully protecting the world. Dusk subsequently appeared many times, only to be driven away with all its might. This, in essence, was the ultimate solution. Dusk was formless, like an outsider, while Li Guang fought on its home turf, leading the world in its fight against the apocalypse. As long as this continued, the world would endure forever, and Li Guang would always be stronger than dusk. Then the world would be eternal, and Li Guang would constantly create new things, expanding ever larger, truly endless. What kind of era was that? What kind of world was that? Bai Luo gasped. Imagine, if Li Guang could create anything, would there still be a problem of distribution? Material is limited, so it needs to be distributed. But what if it were infinite? Li Guang could create something out of nothing. Just tell Li Guang what you want, and he'll give it to you. Are these phantoms primitive gods? Bai Luo didn't see any life forms resembling humans, only phantoms. This showed that, in the beginning, these phantoms were the masters of the world. They didn't need food or drink, had no concept of life or death, and neither sought power nor competed with one another. If I had to describe it, Bai Luo felt that each of these phantoms was a benevolent saint. They dedicated themselves wholeheartedly, striving to create more, yet never demanded anything from the world, nor did they dominate, oppress, or defraud it. They were like workers who had found a job they loved. Every day of creation was their greatest joy, and looking at their work brought them immense joy. What kind of society was that? But every individual possessed nearly unlimited power. When they needed no resources, they could create anything they desired. They were never bored, because they were constantly creating new things. There was no end to what they could do, no end to what they could see, no end to what they could accomplish. Creating something was exciting, and continuing to create was always exciting. At this point, Bai Luo felt that the only thing these phantoms needed to worry about was external forces like dusk. Chapter 336 Yajin, I, the goddess, send money. Boom, boom, the same hammering sound, the same terrifying power, emerged from this primordial world. Bai Luo saw a shadowy figure forging something just as his predecessor had done. However, what it was forging was not benevolent. Boom, a shadowy figure held aloft the dawn light, and before him, dusk finally descended. They were like two giants towering over the heavens, one holding the dawn light, the other holding the dusk. The next moment, the dawn light and the dusk collided, and the radiant, glorious, and blissful primordial world was completely shattered by this terrifying force. All the shadows fell, and the boundless forests of the world tree were burned to ashes, never to return to their former luxuriance. Dusk and dawn light, eternal destruction, these two divine artifacts could not collide. The mere aftermath of their clash would annihilate everything. Why am I having to watch this? Bai Luo slowly turned. And you, who are you? At that moment, in the devastating world, a figure appeared behind Bai Luo. She seemed to have been standing there for a long time, yet also seemed to have just arrived. It was a woman, and her appearance surprised Bai Luo. With a face like that, Bai Luo's face darkened. What do you mean? The woman looked exactly like Bai Luo's deceased mother, but Bai Luo knew she couldn't possibly be his mother. This wasn't my choice. The woman shook her head and smiled. You thought I should look like this, so I look like this, huh? Bai Luo felt wary, his hand tightly gripping dusk. Yes, even here, dusk still existed. Bai Luo couldn't sense other miracles, but dusk, alone, could continue to fight alongside him in this world of consciousness. This showed that dusk might not be as bad as his uncle and the others imagined. Don't be nervous, I mean no harm. The woman waved her hands repeatedly. I just wanted to chat with you and get to know you. Who are you? My name is Yajin. Yajin closed her eyes, as if pondering how to introduce herself. As for me, I'm probably a goddess. Huh? Goddess? Bai Luo found it incomprehensible. In the miracle worldview, gods are weaklings. Only the lords of dimensions would proclaim themselves gods in various planes. Compared to the lords of miracles, who possessed infinite power, these gods were mere pseudo-gods, completely ridiculous. Are you a dimensional creature? Bai Luo found that impossible. The strongest dimensional creature was only at a legendary level, and yet she could appear here? How could it be possible? Yajin, suddenly, Bai Luo's eyes widened. Yajin's book? What's your relationship with Yajin's book? That's my construction book. How is it? Isn't it useful? Yajin looked proud. Of course, it's my construction book after all. Construction book. Bai Luo, AI Axida. Oh, you also know AI Axida. Yajin was a little surprised, but soon pouted and said dissatisfiedly, why do you know that little guy? Is he more famous than me? No way, even he's more famous than me. For a moment, Yajin looked at Bai Luo with tears in his eyes. You know AI Axida, but you don't know me. I'm sad, so sad. Bai Luo felt that the other party seemed to treat him as an idiot. Swish, wow, Yajin raised her head. The blade of Huang's sword was almost touching her chin. Too close, no, use my mother's tone, speak. Bai Luo's face was very bad. Yajin's mischievous look was exactly the same as his deceased mother in this life. Although they had only been together for 8 years, Bai Luo was an orphan in his previous life, so his mother in this life was the only mother he had in 2 lives. Hey, Yajin was speechless. She said, this has nothing to do with me. This is how you imagined me. I can't help it, huh? This was the second time Yajin said this. Bai Luo, what do you mean by that? I don't exist. Yajin said the incomprehensible words in a matter-of-fact tone. Wow, it's so hot. Watching Bai Luo take back dusk for the second time, Yajin no longer dared to smile playfully. Actually, my current appearance, even my human form, the ability to speak, and my good looks, are all just figments of your imagination. Yajin herself didn't exist, she wasn't human, and she didn't even possess self-awareness. At this moment, Bai Luo felt as if he had attained enlightenment. Based on his own understanding, he manifested his inner Tao, Yajin. The reason she took on the form of Bai Luo's mother was probably because, in Bai Luo's subconscious, this form was more approachable and gentle, bringing him peace of mind. Anyway, Yajin said confidently, hands on her hips, that's it, wow wow wow, the third time. The third time, this guy gave Bai Luo the impression of being a bit like that naive Inya, but from what Yajin said, the book of Yajin was her construction book. While he didn't know what a construction book was, the fact that the miracle that could find miracles was related to her and even named after her meant she must be someone very important. What's your purpose, Bai Luo? Why did you bring me here? Wrong, wrong, Yajin shook her head. Although I really wanted to see you, I couldn't bring you here. You got here on your own. Where's this place? In your heart, Yajin, or rather, within the very source of yourself. Why am I here, Bai Luo? Did I see those things just now? That wasn't it, Yajin said. I made you see them. There's something wrong with you. Bai Luo unsheathed his dusk sword once more, and Yajin quickly raised her hands in surrender. No harm. Absolutely no harm. I'll give you 4. Tell me your purpose. Dusk sword rested on Yajin's shoulder. Bai Luo was ready to strike at the slightest disagreement. Don't make me say it for the 5th time. Tell me everything you know. Bai Luo felt strangely about Yajin. Despite her strangeness and unknown identity, Bai Luo didn't actually have many doubts. On the contrary, he felt an unprecedented sense of intimacy with this woman. Just like Bai Luo's miracle, even if anyone is his enemy, they will not hurt him. Speak. Of course, this does not stop Bai Luo from putting Huang'an on her neck and threatening her. Actually, there's not much to say, Yajin. There are mainly 3 things. 3 things. You have been talking nonsense here for so long. Bai Luo almost couldn't help but kill her. After all, Bai Luo has not forgotten that in reality, on Atón Island, Huang'an is on a rampage. He is now extremely anxious and can't wait to go back. The first thing, you have 3 sentences to explain the matter clearly. Bai Luo's face darkened. If you can't finish, I will chop you up. Yajin was stunned. Although he is very domineering, he is so handsome. Chapter 337 Mentally Retarded Goddess. I chopped it off. Talk about it now, Yajin. Using dusk has a price. This weapon wasn't found in my build book. Finally, I miss you. Aside from the last sentence being nonsense, the first 2 things were clearly more important. Using dusk has a price. What price? Every time you use dusk, you pay with your own humanity, Yajin, either memories or a certain personality trait, like the desire to protect your people, or your concern for someone. In other words, using dusk will drastically change Bai Luo's personality, even transforming him into a completely different person. So dangerous? Bai Luo hadn't expected dusk to have such a terrifying side effect. No wonder he felt like he was constantly being controlled by some force after acquiring dusk. Is this what dusk means? It's like a newborn baby, with no sense of good and evil, and no sense of right and wrong. Yajin, you can't expect a child to act rationally, but these side effects are dusk's instincts, and also its flaws. Whenever Bai Luo encountered danger, Yajin appeared like an automatic firewall, shielding him from dusk's side effects and offering a warning, so he would be more careful in the future. What about the second sentence, Bai Luo? Wasn't Huang'an found by my Ziohei? Puff, Ziohei, you're truly my son. You named him just like me. Who's your son? Who are you? Hot, hot, hot. Not only did this guy randomly claim a kinship, he also took advantage of me. So arrogant. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yajin was on the verge of tears. She quickly changed the subject. Huang'an was led here by someone else. It may have been a miracle for you, but its intentions are despicable. It was to harm you. If the 3 merchants had come up with a story, Bai Luo wouldn't have believed it. But Yajin. This woman, though somewhat comical and silly, held an invisible magic in her words. Bai Luo subconsciously felt he could trust her. Bai Luo had only experienced this feeling with his uncle. Was it because she used his mother's image? This guy was really good at playing things. He was clearly a seasoned criminal. Who brought her here? I don't know, but I think you know. Dusk drew closer, and Yajin's eyes widened. Is my lie so obvious? It's been seen through all of a sudden, Yajin. That aggressive look is annoying, but, so handsome. Although you're handsome, domineering, and powerful. But the next moment, Yajin said righteously, but I refuse. Are you sure? Seeing Bai Luo's gaze grow colder, Yajin quickly said, "It was the Queen of Avalon. She brought Dusk here, Yajin. It's not from the heart, it's mainly because he's too domineering," Yajin added. "Although he's domineering, he's still very handsome." "Why her again?" Bai Luo was speechless. It seemed like he'd been encountering things involving this woman a lot lately. Where is she? Fiaya? Impossible. Fiaya can't be the Queen of Avalon. Besides, Fiaya and Bai Luo had been having sex, and they'd been having so many different kinds of sex. If the Queen of Avalon is really the senior sister, doesn't she mind? This is like losing all your underwear. If you say that the Queen of Avalon doesn't care, the heroic spirits are very sure that the Queen is the virgin goddess in the myth of Vulnerbogen. She cares very much about her purity, and it is impossible for her to be united with a man. Yajin, can you move the sword away from my neck first? This little guy is very naughty. Swish. Bai Luo put the dusk back into the sheath and said, "Fiaya, is it the Queen?" "Yes and no. You know, even the old uncle couldn't figure it out, but this woman actually knew it." "What is her background?" "Want to know?" "Sure, but I have a condition." He actually dared to talk about conditions, but Bai Luo really wanted to know. "Tell me." "Oh, sure." Seeing Bai Luo agreed, Yajin quickly said, "The conditions are very simple. As long as you say I love you, my Yajin, every morning when you wake up, Yajin, I love you the most at noon, and in the evening." Swish. Bai Luo drew his sword without hesitation. Yajin felt only a gust of hot wind, and then, her beautiful hair, like a waterfall, was cut off at the waist. "My hair." Yajin knelt on the ground, holding the broken hair in her hands, wanting to cry but unable to. This child, how rude, but said it so much? "What's the relationship between Fiaya and the Queen?" "They're the same person." "That's impossible." "That's true," Yajin said, "but being the same person doesn't mean they're the same person." "What do you mean?" "Just like you and Yingbei's how," Yajin said, "you're essentially the same person, but he's your past, and you're his present. Your personalities, thoughts, and feelings are all different." "You're saying that although Fiaya is the Queen's reincarnation, she's not the Queen." This was good news. Bai Luo loved senior sister, and whether or not she was a bad person in her past life was irrelevant. She could also become the Queen, Yajin said. As her memories return, her personality will likely change drastically, eventually returning to her full form as the Queen. That depends on her resolve. If her resolve wasn't strong enough, senior sister's personality would be overwhelmed by the Queen. While she would still be herself, she would no longer be the senior sister Bai Luo knew. Is there any solution? Yes, really, Bai Luo hadn't expected there to be a solution. He quickly asked, "What solution?" "The Queen of Avalon cares most about purity," Yajin said with a perverted grin. "So when the time comes, just grab her, throw her on the bed, pin her down, and press her down hard." Pa 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 pa. Yajin interlocked their fingers, squeezing them together to simulate a mysterious sound. "This guy," Bai Luo's mouth twitched slightly. "Not only is he mentally ill, he's also a pervert. I've given you the method." Yajin returned to normal. "If you don't believe it, then forget it." "Anything else?" Bai Luo asked. "If not, how can I get out?" "I need to deal with the matter over on Atón Island. Can you reconsider the 3 conditions before get out?" Then, without waiting for Yajin to speak again, Bai Luo disappeared from this world, leaving Yajin alone, pouting and waving his hands continuously. He didn't even say goodbye. "This kid is so rude." Although it's very rude, Yajin held his face with one hand, his jade cheeks slightly red, and said gently, "But he has grown into an excellent man." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338. Choose me or these trash. Your Majesty, Brother Bai Luo, where are you? Most of the Atón people were on the periphery, having long been protected by Yingmu Iron and other miracles to a safe location. Conversely, some Atón members, having come too close to Bai Luo, were nearly trapped in the sea of fire. They were young to begin with, not counting the adult women. The oldest was only 13 or 14-year-old Fyra. Brother Bai Luo little Helen was too young, and she hadn't learned advanced fairy magic. Miracle power could enhance mental maturity, but even for a girl of only 5 or 6, even miracle power couldn't grant her too much power. Forcing it would only damage their foundation. Other fairy tribes had limited potential, with few reaching legendary rank. The Atón clan had far greater potential, with legends and above abounding. Bai Luo would never force things. But this time, faced with such a situation, Bai Luo felt regret for the first time. He felt he shouldn't have used his childhood to limit the growth of little Helen and Stephanie. Otherwise, even if they were powerless to resist the dusk sea of fire, they certainly wouldn't be as panic-stricken as they are now. "What are you doing?" Bai Luo was now fully awake, but almost all his energy was focused on dusk in his hand. As the Lord of Miracles, Bai Luo ordered it to stop unleashing its power. Why, Bai Luo asked, a little annoyed. "What are you doing? You're hurting your own people, don't you see? They're so useless, they're only a burden to you." Bullshit. Bai Luo had never considered exploiting the Atón people. They were his family, his compatriots. Bai Luo had transformed them into miracle people simply to protect them. He didn't want to lose these children he had watched grow up. This is a weakness, and it needs to be eliminated. However, in Huangtan's eyes, Bai Luo's worry and concern were his weakness. Imagine if an enemy captured little Helen and used her to threaten Bai Luo, what would he do? Would he wage war, disregarding little Helen's life, or would he sacrifice the interests of the entire Principality of Atón to save her? "I don't need you giving me this kind of choice." Bai Luo wasn't stupid. Such questions were completely meaningless. If we were constantly worried about this and that, would we even be alive? Mortals have countless weaknesses, sharp weapons, falls from heights, and all sorts of illnesses. Is it precisely because of these weaknesses that humans become overly anxious and live in fear every day? Rather, it's precisely because of our fragility that we become stronger, rising to the occasion and performing miracles unique to mortals. "You said they made me fragile, my weakness. Why can't they be the driving force that spurs me on?" Bai Luo, "It's precisely because I want to protect them that I strive to find and develop miracles. It's because of their existence that I became king and fearless. Weaknesses do exist, but they are also the greatest aspect of human nature. Poverty is a weakness, but the desire to endure poverty is a reluctance to endure. It's precisely this fear that drives humans forward. Perhaps many would consider this a manifestation of fragility. But who can be flawless and consistently strong? Even Yang Huayan feared loss, and even the Holy Emperor felt guilty for the family he had lost. People are inherently incomplete, only half. Just like the Marquis Kenquin, she lost everything, her heart fragile. Her uncle's appearance filled the void, giving her courage again. Everyone has a day like this, which is why we support others. Bai Luo wasn't fighting and advancing alone. He had so many miracles, so many miracle-loving people. Huanghen said the miracle-loving people held Bai Luo back, but Bai Luo felt they supported him. If Bai Luo were alone, then why did he fight? Why did he become stronger? Was it to prevent others from surpassing him, to prevent others from hurting him? In my opinion, Bai Luo countered Huanghen's thoughts, that's the greatest fear. You're afraid, you're the coward, Huanghen fell silent. As Yajin had said, Huanghen was like a newborn, naive child, without a sense of good or evil, simply focused on making Bai Luo stronger. I am indeed afraid, Wang Hun admitted his flaws, but I am Wang Hun, and I will never change my attitude. Don't you believe me? Then make your choice, my master, choose me. Suddenly, a surge of flames, like a tsunami, rushed towards the slumped little Helen. Still these rubbish, stop. Bai Luo's pupils shrank sharply. He knew what Wang Hun was going to do. It was going to kill the people Bai Luo cared about, and then, with this attitude, show Bai Luo how ridiculous his ideas were. No matter how righteous one's words, when tragedy strikes, you are just an ordinary person. All the inspirational words from those who have never experienced pain are just empty talk. These people who talk about morality and positive energy are even more disgusting than indifferent bystanders. I told you to stop. Bai Luo kept urging Wang Hun to move, but even though it was covered with cracks, it did not stop. Kill her. It wanted to kill her. Damn it, Bai Luo clenched his fists. Unable to stop the dusk, he could only choose to rescue little Helen. However, in an instant, the flames had reached a point where the girl could no longer escape. Helen, be careful. At this moment, a figure recklessly plunged into the sea of fire. It was Maya, Shuster's sister, and one of the Atón clan, Bai Luo loved most. Now, regardless of the burning dusk flames, the girl scooped little Helen up into her arms, shielding her with her body. The flames instantly consumed the girl's clothing, spreading across her back, arms, and even her neck and face, causing her to let out a horrified, muffled scream. At that moment, Bai Luo's body felt as if it were sinking into an icy cave. What have I done? Bai Luo thought, his heart aching. What are you hesitating about? Bang! Outside the sea of fire, Yingmu Yang and the others heard only the crisp sound of metal breaking, and then, the boundless flames instantly vanished without a trace. Is this your choice? Bai Luo did not answer, because he had already told Wang Hun his answer. It shattered, and in Bai Luo's hands, it vanished. You will come to me again, yes, one day, you will fight alongside me again, Wang Hun said, my only beloved master. Chapter 339 The Curse of Dusk. What's going on? What happened? The flames? Why did they suddenly disappear? Bare grass grew on the charred earth. Not far in front of them, Bai Luo crouched, holding two girls, one older, one smaller. Helen was fine, aside from her clothes, she wasn't seriously injured. But Maya, her body was covered in scars, burned by the dusk flame. Even with Bai Luo's treatment, she still looked like a terrifying demon. Dusk was shattered, destroyed by Bai Luo himself. This was his right as the master of miracles, he could destroy a miracle with his absolute will. And as long as Bai Luo refused to allow Dusk to return, Dusk would never return. With Dusk's disappearance, the dusk flame naturally dissipated instantly. However, before it vanished, Dusk had prophesied, it would return. One day, Bai Luo would need it again for various reasons. At that time, Bai Luo would have to make the most drastic decision, Dusk's power or his cherished people. Damn it, Bai Luo didn't know who to blame. He blamed himself, that was for sure. If he hadn't been so greedy, unwilling to give up Dusk, reluctant to let him go, still hoping for a lucky break, wanting Dusk to understand his determination to protect Atón, then none of this would have happened. Bai Luo didn't shy away from this. He admitted his mistake in letting him go and blamed himself. But at the same time, the culprit that Yejin mentioned was that Dusk wasn't the result of the Book of Yejin's unilateral search, but someone else had led it there. This reminded Bai Luo of Li Guang and Ying Bei's Hao. Back then, it was Izadumon who, through some means, had helped the Book of Yejin find Li Guang. However, Li Guang himself was related to Dumon, so Ying Bei's Hao only had half the control over Li Guang. Is it the same with Dusk? Bai Luo had to figure this out. To whom did Dusk belong? Did he belong exclusively to him, or was he, like Ying Bei's Hao, a traitor? Little Maya, Lilith was the first to rush forward. She wanted to heal Maya, but found her power was inadequate to heal Huang's burns. How could this happen? It's useless. Lilith, Bai Luo, aware of Huang's strength, handed little Helen to Lilith, who conjured clothes for the girl in Maya. Maya was in agony. Her brow furrowed, and she gritted her teeth. Huang's burns, like maggots clinging to her bones, took root deep within her, constantly tormenting the young girl. Is anyone else hurt? After regaining consciousness, Bai Luo finally understood what he had done. Thinking back to his past, Bai Luo felt mad. This confirmed Yejin's words. Every time Huang used his power, Bai Luo lost some of his humanity. Yejin had blocked it the first time, but even Yejin couldn't withstand it the second or third time. If Bai Luo continued to use Huang, the result would be nothing short of poison. Sister, Bai Luo looked at Yingmu Yan and asked, is anyone else injured? No one. Yingmu Yan and the others moved swiftly, especially Ali and Xiao Bei, who practically shielded the Dusk with their own bodies. Fortunately, Bai Luo didn't attack directly with Dusk. It was just the flames, the derivatives of which weren't enough to erode the miracle itself. This was a fundamental difference, one that couldn't be altered by quantitative manipulation. Even if the others were burned, it was only superficial, said Old Reed. Remove the skin, then use the healing power of the miracle, and they'll be back to normal quickly. Only Maya, caught in the core sea of fire, had sustained severe injuries protecting little Helen. They were beyond repair, beyond healing. Even Yingmu Yan and her senior sister were powerless. Why is this happening? Looking around, the entire world of Avalon was shattered. Even a tiny bit of Dusk's power had inflicted immense damage on this miracle world. It's hard to imagine the devastation this disaster would wreak if it were to happen in reality, on the Aten Islands. Dusk didn't distinguish between friend and foe, but rather its own people. Without it, there are no Aten, and without the Aten, even the Age of Gods can't suppress it. Bai Luo still had the Age of Gods scabbard hanging from his waist. It was a separate component from Dusk, but the Age of Gods scabbard's power was clearly not as strong as Dusk's. At least in terms of attack power and destructive power, The scabbard was nowhere near as powerful as Dusk's. Maya moaned in pain, causing Bai Luo great pain. The girl was like a sister to Bai Luo, someone he had watched grow up, but now, Bai Luo couldn't even bear to look at her scarred body. The damage caused by miracle power can be temporary, permanent, or permanent. Temporary damage can be repaired with any treatment. Permanent damage can be healed by infusing the miracle body with a large amount of miracle power, using this transformation to expel the power seeds left within it. As for permanent damage, that's not a problem either, it's just a matter of reincarnation. Abandoning his current body, Maya could reincarnate as a tree spirit. With the help of the ancient tree's miracle power, Maya would recover. But Dusk's permanent damage was no ordinary miracle, its standard was too high. Dusk is a supreme miracle, its flames acting as a derivative of the supreme. This power is like a curse, emanating from the supreme being. To break it, one must find a power of equal or higher rank. Just like Lilith, a mid-level miracle, if she casts a curse on a miracle minor, it doesn't affect the miracle itself or the miracle master. The power of lower-level miracles cannot break it. Even reincarnation is useless. They can only seek help from Lilith or other miracle masters. Maya, as soon as Zeuster was freed by Ying Yulian, he immediately ran to his sister's side. He grasped the girl's hand, heartbroken at her pained expression. Brother Bai Luo, Maya, I'm sorry. To these children, Bai Luo had never been a king, he was their parent, a brother and a father. But now, because of his mistakes, his daughter and sister had become like this. He felt guilty and regretful. He could only say, I'm sorry, Maya. Zeuster lowered his head, tears welling in his eyes, but he forced them back. Don't cry, don't cry. Even though his appearance had matured somewhat thanks to the power of miracles, Zeuster was still only a 10-year-old child. I will definitely heal her, I will. Bai Luo handed Maya to Lilith's arms, leaving the fairy godmother to take care of her. I'll trouble uncle, Fiaya, and sister to handle things here. The best way to break the miracle curse had always been clear. Since even the miracle power of a higher level miracle couldn't help, then seek a power higher than the miracle power. The dusk flame was the highest level derivative, yet even Pegasus Shirley, a lower level miracle, couldn't do anything about it. That was the answer. The miracle itself was of a higher standard than any miracle power. If Bai Luo could find a new miracle, if he could make Maya the miracle itself, he could heal her. So now, Bai Luo had to leave for a while. He had to search for new miracles. Actively, spontaneously, and with urgency. Surely, Bai Luo leaped onto his horse, and the rainbow bridge descended. Shirley carried her master from the world of Avalon, bound for the land of miracles, where miracles often fall. Even if he searched the entire world, searching every corner, Bai Luo would surely find them. Chapter 340, Change of Position. Miracle, where's the new miracle? Bai Luo had never actively searched for miracles. This was the first time he had been aimlessly flying around without the Book of Yajin responding. It was also the first time Bai Luo felt how difficult it was to find a miracle. For a full half day, Bai Luo rode surely across the sea. The Iron Eagle Kingdom in the Land of Miracles had a bad relationship with Bai Luo, so he didn't go there. This was even though the Iron Eagle Kingdom was no match for Bai Luo. Bai Luo initially expressed hostility towards the Iron Eagles. If he had gone there alone, the 7 Iron Eagle Kings might not have attacked him, but they would have defended him fiercely. Even if he did find a miracle, finding it and bringing it back safely would not be easy. The Brilliant and Azure Lands had vast territories of miracles, where miracles wouldn't fall. Fortunately, the 3 dukes and 4 nobles hadn't converted all the lands into miracle territories, meaning Bai Luo had a chance to snatch up some from their territory. Most miracle lords did similar things. King Aole had the power to transform the entire Aole kingdom into a land of miracles, but he didn't. In reality, the kings were all very self-aware, each choosing to restrain themselves and limit the expansion of their territories. Bai Luo didn't realize this. The world of miracles wasn't just a game of power, unless you could defeat everyone alone. But so what? The world of miracles wasn't a life and death arena. No one stipulated that other nations would necessarily be enemies of the Atón. The common reason for war was resources, but for the Lord of Miracles, who could create something out of nothing, the only resource was time. The problem was, you had unlimited time to enjoy, to develop, to build a beautiful paradise, so why fight to the death? Bai Luo longed for war, but it wasn't about for the Atón people to prove their bravery and valor through sacrifice. That wasn't what Bai Luo wanted. This kind of arrogance wasn't how Bai Luo envisioned the Atón people. The Atón attitude should be a sport that showcased the Atón people's indomitable spirit. Calling it a sport like the Olympics wouldn't be a problem. If the other side chose fairness, the Atón would follow it. But if you brought real weapons, the Atón would fight you to the death. That was Bai Luo's attitude. But at dusk, it seized upon Bai Luo's inner fear. Bai Luo's desire to protect his compatriots and people was his greatest weakness. The destruction of Atón village over a decade ago had taught Bai Luo the importance of power. But Bai Luo's goal in acquiring power was definitely not to destroy others' possessions. To do so would be, as Bai Luo imagined, no longer controlling power, but becoming its slave. His daily focus would be killing, conquering, and conquering. Such a person was less a king than a flawed bloodline. If a nation knew how to plunder and not create, it was flawed and should be eliminated. Bai Luo would not bully others, but he would never allow anyone to provoke him. He would avenge his grudges and repay his grievances. However, if a favor was bestowed upon him, Bai Luo would do his utmost to repay it, repaying even a drop of kindness with a spring of water. In fact, in the land of miracles, the only two people who truly held a grudge against Bai Luo were the Earl of Thorn and the Iron Eagle King, due to their old grudges. At least for now. Bai Luo had no reason to wage war against any other miracle kingdom besides them. Furthermore, Bai Luo and Earl of Thorns no longer harbor much hatred. Of course, this is Bai Luo's perspective. Earl of Thorns indirectly caused the death of his senior sister's father, but Bai Luo had nearly achieved his revenge by killing Li Zushan Xianzhe. So, from Bai Luo's perspective, he has no reason to start another war. Without a legitimate reason, the other lords of miracles will undoubtedly react, such as Inya. They have every reason to protest Bai Luo's aggressiveness. This isn't meddling, it's simply a matter of character. In the miracle world, this kind of character is called stance, like the 9-square grid in D&D, only less cumbersome. It can be summarized as truth, goodness, moderation, and evil, a deflection and fusion of the three. Tianzi are both neutral. Given the right reasons, they won't stop you and will even speak up for you. Compared to the meddling good side, these two are quite good. Perhaps in their view, allowing Bai Luo and Earl of Thorns to reach a truce and ceasefire, even if their relationship remained strained, was more reasonable than a life-and-death struggle. Huang Han wanted to drive Bai Luo insane with fear. Fortunately, Bai Luo regained consciousness in time. Though he felt sorry for Maya, it was Maya's injury and the threat of her death that solidified Bai Luo's resolve. The choice was between Maya, whom he had watched grow up like a sister and daughter, and Huang Han, who could destroy the world and propel Bai Luo to great heights. Bai Luo chose the former without hesitation. His uncle had previously asked Yingmu Ayan and his senior sister to help him, hoping that through a certain sacrifice, Bai Luo would break Huang Han's spell from within. "I'll be back, one day, you will choose to fight alongside me." Huang Han's words lingered in Bai Luo's mind, like a demonic voice, lingering for a long time. Huang Han seized upon a part of Bai Luo's resentment and magnified it. Its words were too persuasive, too pointed. No, absolutely not. Bai Luo tightened his grip on the Age of God's sheath at his waist. Perhaps it was an illusion, perhaps it was true, but holding the sheath of dusk, Bai Luo felt an inexplicable sense of security. A sheath that could barely contain the power of dusk. Even if this Age of God sheath wasn't as good as dusk, it certainly wouldn't be much worse. Peace, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Bai Luo had just become the master of miracles, full of youthful vigor. But when he saw Maya burned and the children cornered by the dusk flames, Bai Luo couldn't imagine what it would be like if they truly died one day. No, absolutely not. Bai Luo took deep breaths, suppressing the possibility. Dusk's influence was still there, always. Where is the new miracle? Zio Hei, oh, Yajin. She must know how to find it. Bai Luo could faintly sense Yajin's presence. Although he couldn't pinpoint her exact location, he knew she was there, just like his senior sister and Yingmu Ayan. Wherever they went, Bai Luo could sense their connection. So, in essence, Yajin was no different from Yingmu Ayan and senior sister. They were all Bai Luo's miraculous creatures. How do I get in? Bai Luo wanted to see Yajin again, but he didn't know how. Just as he was wondering, Bai Luo suddenly appeared in that strange space again, and saw. Oh! Looking at the white snow in front of him, Bai Luo frowned. He suppressed the urge to hit someone, and then asked the woman in the bath in front of him, What are you doing? Chapter 341. Is this forbidden love? What the hell do you think this place is? The world, once dark and empty, was now ablaze with light. Bai Luo took a closer look and realized it was the holy pool of Avalon. In front of him, Yajin was soaking in the water, enjoying her bath. Get dressed right now. Bai Luo turned away, not wanting to look at her. Hey, you're here. Seeing Bai Luo enter, Yajin offered a gracious hand, greeting him without a qualm. Don't be so stiff. I'm just borrowing your place to relax. Oh, and by the way, do you want to join us for a soak? It's so nice. Bai Luo didn't know where to start complaining, but also felt a strange sense of displeasure. He had been through a major life decision out there, riding surely across the ocean to lift Myskers. And yet, Yajin was just soaking in the bath here, acting as if nothing had happened. Although this matter had nothing to do with her, Bai Luo was displeased. Very displeased. Yajin realized something was wrong and suddenly turned to look at the water. She could feel the temperature rising. Wait, gurgle, gurgle. The holy water pool began to boil due to Bai Luo's anger. It's so hot. Yajin almost climbed out of the pool and fell to all fours, exposing her fair skin and graceful figure to Bai Luo's eyes. The air blew on her slightly red skin, and Yajin said with lingering fear. That was dangerous. I almost got boiled. Normally, Yajin was an absolute beauty, that was undeniable. Even among the people Bai Luo had met, few could compare to her in terms of pure beauty and temperament. But this girl's personality was full of regret. She called herself a goddess, but her actions were nothing like a goddess. She was simply a female gangster, a big change. I want to know how to find the next miracle as soon as possible. Since the Book of Yajin is named after you, you should know how to use it very well, right? Bai Luo turned his back to Yajin. Tell me. Hey, Yajin crossed her legs and bent them, lying on the edge of the smooth bathtub like a mermaid. I should have heard correctly. You seem to be begging me, right? Yes, Bai Luo admitted. It's a request, but isn't your attitude a little wrong? Yajin scratched his ears. You don't even say please when you beg someone. How rude. And you let me talk to you naked, even if it's me. Yajin folded his hands, nodded his head vigorously, and said in a deep voice. I would be angry too. This woman, I want to hide her. But the situation is stronger than the person, and Bai Luo no longer has dusk in his hand, so it is unlikely that he can threaten her. I was wrong before. I apologize. Bai Luo always acted according to his heart. He never hesitated when it was time to bow his head, like now. Please tell me how to find the miracle as quickly as possible. I can't repay you for your kindness. Haha, very good, very good. That's much more polite, but it's not enough. Yajin looked up, overconfident. Not at all. You, Bai Luo couldn't imagine how a woman lying naked on the ground could be so arrogant. How much did this guy trust him that he didn't even consider him a man? For some reason, Bai Luo was supposed to be a very stable man, but he always lost his temper when facing Yajin. Bai Luo was more inclined to use violence than words. Any problem that could be solved with fists was not a problem. What do you want me to do? Bai Luo was flexible. Please tell me the conditions. As long as they're not excessive, we can negotiate. Oh, here it comes, my chance. Has my time to rise finally arrived? Wahahaha. Oh, wow, perhaps too excited. Yajin accidentally laughed until she choked. She clutched her stomach, but still gritted her teeth and made a request. First and foremost, from now on, you have to call me mother. This guy. Bai Luo felt that she was taking advantage of him, and in a blatant way. I'm telling you, you're not my real mother. Why are you so persistent? Don't worry about that, Yajin. Just tell me whether you agree or not. Tisk. Although he was unhappy, if it was just this kind of request, Bai Luo didn't care. It was just a name. Anyway, it didn't matter what it was called. Even if he called him dad, Bai Luo would add in his mind, bastard, and that would be considered hypocritical. Thinking of Maya, who was still in agony, Bai Luo couldn't bear to let her suffer for that long. If the rules of the Black Book really followed, it would take half a month, or even a month, to find the next miracle. The torture of the dusk fire curse lasted only a moment, but even Ali almost lost his breath from the pain. Little Maya, and for a full half month, how could she endure it? Bai Luo sighed. For the sake of the child, I endure it. Don't let me find your weakness, otherwise, I will definitely beat this stupid woman to death. Mother, Yajin's ears twitched, and she immediately put her hand to her ear. What did you say? Speak so quietly, so I can't hear you. She wanted to kill someone. She wanted to kill her. Mother, mother, Bai Luo shouted out with all his might, but Yajin, far from being satisfied, pressed even harder. That's completely wrong. No emotion at all. Are you a parrot? Is the volume turned up a bit? You need to shout with love, with a loving expression, in a gentle, affectionate way, like a spoiled child. Bai Luo's face darkened. Are you kidding me? Right now, Bai Luo was like a father desperate for money with a daughter in a hospital bed. He'd even kneeled down. But now, Yajin had reached Bai Luo's limit. Yajin seemed to sense the change in Bai Luo's aura. Her heart trembled, and her momentum weakened. I apologize, okay, huh? Yajin felt the surroundings shift. The once bright holy water pool vanished, replaced by a dim, yet still luxurious, chamber. A woman's figure appeared in midair, then, like a duck, lightly landed on the soft bedding. The sudden change startled Yajin. What are you going to do? Perhaps it was the change in environment that made Yajin subconsciously put her hand under her lower abdomen, revealing a shy expression. You are not going to, no, absolutely not this, only this one thing, absolutely not. Yajin was really scared this time. Even if Bai Luo beat her, Yajin could accept it calmly, but if something really happened. I don't mind taboos, and it's exciting to have something happen with him, but, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. Yajin still found that kind of thing too terrifying. Don't do that kind of thing, we can't do it. Bai Luo covered his face and snapped his fingers. A pajamas immediately appeared on Yajin's body, covering her exposed skin. What are you thinking about? Why should I be interested in a pervert and idiot like you? Moreover, Yajin's remarks were inexplicably strange. Although it was based on Bai Luo's mother, it was too depressing, wasn't it? Bai Luo was not an animal with a lower body. If he didn't like the other person, or even feared the other person, then even if the woman was naked and stood in front of him, Bai Luo would never react. Exactly, Yajin was like this now. Her origins were unknown, and Bai Luo didn't trust her at all. Pervert, idiot. Yajin felt like she had been hit by a ton of blow. Her heart ached, but she also thought that she was playing tricks on Bai Luo when he was anxious, which was indeed wrong. I don't have a shortcut to find a new miracle, but I happen to know the location of a miracle and can tell you. If she didn't have such information in her hand, Yajin would not have wasted time with him. Also, you need to calm down. Yajin's face became more serious. You are too impatient. This is not the emotion a leader should have. Chapter 342 A miracle that can turn the tide. Can you still speak seriously? Oh my. Yajin waved her hand. Even I get a bit of a cool vibe sometimes. Hey, never mind. Ignoring Yajin's cutesy behavior, Bai Luo didn't want to bother with her identity for the time being. But one thing Bai Luo was certain of, she was truly his miracle, for she couldn't resist his will or his orders. I'll definitely correct your suggestion, Bai Luo humbly accepted, determined not to make the same mistake again. He wouldn't be seduced by powerful miracles like Huang'an again. He would stay true to himself and do what he wanted. Actually, I just wanted to be cool. No, he still wanted to punch her. Ahem, Yajin said, I've posted the coordinates of the miracle in the black book, but before you look for it, there's something I need to tell you. What? That miracle? Another miracle with side effects, Bai Luo said. Could it be the Supreme? No, that's not that impressive. The Supreme wasn't a cabbage. How could it possibly have one thing after another? The world can only have 7 top-tier miracles appearing simultaneously. The Book of Yajin doesn't count. It's rather special and therefore can be excluded from this statistic. Plus, there aren't any side effects. At least it won't bend people's minds or corrupt them. Oh, Bai Luo didn't really need to hear Yajin's explanation. He just needed one miracle right now. Even if it was the lowest, no matter how poorly it matched Maya, Bai Luo would grant it without hesitation. Of course, the matching had to be above the passing level for integration. If he found a miracle that was completely incompatible with Maya, Bai Luo would be in for a headache. How does it match, my child? Bai Luo, you should know Maya, right? I used Ziohe to assess her before. I know the child, don't worry. This miracle's matching with her is quite good, Yajin said. It's not that high, though. Only 80%. 80% basically means a miracle can be fully utilized, meaning it can reach the 5th awakening through talent. Above 100% means it has the potential to break through to the 6th awakening. Of course, it's not a 100% guarantee. The higher the percentage, the greater the probability of a breakthrough. and the faster the speed. Beyond that, the aptitude for a miracle is unrelated to the level of awakening, because achieving the seventh awakening requires not only aptitude but also sufficient experience, something that can only be encountered by chance. That's enough, Bai Luo, I'll go find it. Wait, Yajin, I need to remind you of something. Can you speak faster? It doesn't matter if you speak slower. This is your world of thought and heart, anyway. Even if you live here for hundreds of years, it's only a moment outside. But Bai Luo was anxious. He wanted to take the miracle back immediately to make up for the damage he had done to little Maya. That miracle is powerful, Yajin said solemnly. It has the power to turn the tide. This was the first time Bai Luo had heard such an evaluation. What are they? 14 Dao fruits. Dao fruits is both the name of a miracle and a general term for a series of miracles. There are 14 Dao fruits, one for every 2 factions, and each holds a power rivaling that of a higher tier miracle. Remember my words. Don't let that child overuse the power of this Dao fruit, Yajin said. This world may seem peaceful, but in reality, there are special beings who protect everything you know, special beings, like the fat white-haired man you met earlier. The dragon he encountered was one of them, fat old fool, the holy emperor. Bai Luo had heard about this from his uncle. Fat old fool once waged war in the east, but was blocked by a monster. They attacked it, but their entire army was annihilated. One of my pieces of advice, Yajin said, is that dragon, you have to hold back when you encounter these creatures. Don't act rashly until you're confident enough to defeat them. That dragon, is it powerful? Of the miracles you possess now, there aren't many that can challenge them. No, how many, Bai Luo? Do I have the power to challenge them? Yes, Yajin said matter-of-factly. If you summon Dusk again, you can even kill them, but that was as good as nothing. Every time Dusk swung, a bit of Bai Luo's humanity was burned away. Even Dusk wouldn't be able to easily defeat a monster of that level. It meant a long battle, and even if Bai Luo defeated them, Dusk would likely erode him, leaving him no longer like himself. What else? The Zhang clan dragon is also good. It's specifically designed to protect you from those creatures. Roar. The miracle dragon, truly awesome. So, what's her origin? Is she really the world dragon? Yes, Yajin said, puffing out his chest with pride. But in front of me, she's just a little one. I'm super awesome. Give me money. The idiotic and mentally retarded woman, easily suppressed by Bai Luo, had no conviction in her words. Can you help me turn Huanghan into a good child? No. Then can you help me beat them? Of course not. This guy was truly useless, saying the most useless words with such confidence. You can't beat the Lord of Miracles and the Son of Miracles, right? Yo Yajin, you're worthy of being my child. Yes, I'm that good. This wasn't good at all, it was just sheer incompetence. So what's your use? Nothing. With her hands on her hips, a smug look on her face, Bai Luo felt like talking to her was an insult to her intelligence. I'm leaving, and I probably won't be back again. Take care of yourself, huh? Yajin raised her hand to try to stop her, then said she was just joking and that she was actually quite useful. Unfortunately, Bai Luo had already left, and he went back. Not listening to what people say is wrong. Where's the courtesy in that? Yajin sighed helplessly. She waved her hand, and the bedroom, the bedding, and even her clothes began to transform. Bai Luo was right. She was indeed his miracle. If anything, she was like the spirit of Yajin's book, where her consciousness resided. And Yajin also met the characteristics of other miracles. As long as Bai Luo didn't despise her, Yajin would never disappear. I hope you can save him, a new miracle. Then again, Yajin pouted in dissatisfaction. It's okay that Ayashida is more famous than me, but why is even the maid from the Zhang family more famous than me? I'm clearly the goddess, damn it, Yajin, next time I must ask him to help me build a temple. Yajin, will definitely become the most praised state goddess in Atón. Chapter 343, Miracle of Unknown Level, Secret Fruit. Actually, I can hear it, although Bai Luo was flying through reality on Shirley, he could sense Yajin's every move. Even her embarrassing declaration. He felt like she was hinting at him, asking him to help build a temple for her. In the Miracle Kingdom, where divine and royal authority were unified, establishing a sect was nothing special. With the miracles he currently possessed, many people could establish sects, such as Lilith, Shirley, and Leon. Master, we're here. Yes. While pondering the future, Bai Luo rode Shirley to a deserted island. Is there a miracle here? Yajin's words reassured Bai Luo. It was quite strange. This woman, despite her mental retardation, somehow managed to calm Bai Luo. Sense completed, Master. There's no one on this island, it fell where no one is. This miracle is destined to be unattainable. Clatter, the Book of Yajin responded, opening a new page, and Bai Luo immediately looked at it. Spin once, and do it again. Maybe it's hope, maybe it's reincarnation, but I still long for another endless spin. Perhaps this is the nature of all things. Time to make a choice, ancient and great king. Up, Bai Luo couldn't understand the words on the black book. Forget it, let's find this miracle first. Following the instructions on the black book, Bai Luo landed in a forest. It was an orchard, but due to its remoteness, no one passed through, so the fruits and other things were rarely eaten except by birds and beasts. Find one among all the fruit trees. Bai Luo didn't use the power of miracles, because it was useless. The power of miracles couldn't sense miracles that hadn't yet awakened. Even if it could, the fruit would be indistinguishable from ordinary fruit. This way, right, Bai Luo used the black book as a compass and quickly located the tree. He raised his hand, ready to pick all the fruit, but worried about the conditions for picking the fruit. No conditions, this was Yajin's voice. Bai Luo asked, can you still talk to me directly? I'm your miracle. What miracle couldn't communicate with Bai Luo's consciousness? Bai Luo then said, then I'll pick them all and try them one by one. Is that okay? Sure, Dao fruits aren't that precious, surely, Bai Luo said, and Shirley flapped her wings. Streams of silver air plucked all the fruit from the tree. Not this one, not this one. Bai Luo searched one by one. None of the fruits looked very tasty either. They were wild fruits, not to human taste. Clatter, found it, holding the fist-sized fruit in his hand. Bai Luo knew he had found a miracle. What next? What should I do? How do I wake it? Luck and misfortune are both part of fate, but does fate control misfortune and luck, or do misfortune and luck represent fate? It wants to know the answer you crave. What do you think fate is? Talk about a lucky moment you consider, and a misfortune you don't want. Literally, Yajin said. Tell it the future you want, and the future you resist. Lucky things. Bai Luo thought for a moment and said, I want my country to prosper, and everyone to live a happy and fulfilled life. That's the luckiest thing for me. Crack, a crack appeared on the fruit, and a deep blue light flickered within, like starlight, like the universe, deep and quiet. Continue, Yajin asked Bai Luo to continue, to finish describing the rest of his misfortunes. The greatest misfortune for me is losing them, Bai Luo said. I don't want to lose anyone I love. I don't want to be at the top one day without them by my side. The hand holding the fruit was trembling slightly. Bai Luo told it what he feared most. Even if he became the Lord of Miracles, even if he had the power to destroy the world, losing his family was the only thing Bai Luo was unwilling to accept. He longed for perfection and wanted a happy ending. No one could be left behind, no one could leave him. Bang, with a crisp sound, the fruit was completely shattered, and what remained in Bai Luo's hand was a fruit that looked like a heart, made entirely of azure gemstone. Secret fruit, mysterious Dao fruit, rank, unknown, varies per person, possessed by a strong-willed individual. It can rival even the highest-ranking miracles. Type, miracle item contract, Bai Luo an awakening method, consumed by a sufficiently qualified individual. Bai Luo, qualification level, -200%. Got it. Bai Luo stood up, clutching the miracle known as the secret fruit. He quickly jumped on his horse. Shirley, quick, open the rainbow bridge. Let's go back. There was no need to search for anything on the way back, no need to be cautious, just fly slowly. Boom. Then, a massive rainbow beam descended from the sky, landing in the forest of the Duchy of Atón. This was Lilith's territory, where she was caring for Maya. Little Luo, I'm back. I found a miracle. Bai Luo held up the secret fruit in his hand. His uncle didn't recognize it, but he didn't ask. After all, their goal was to heal Maya, so the miracle wasn't important. Dao fruit, however, the knowledgeable Ying Muliang immediately recognized what Bai Luo held. Empress Dong was utterly astonished. How is this possible? Just going out and finding a Dao fruit, even for Bai Luo now, the only two upper-level miracles he had were Senior Sister and Ying Muliang. Xiao Bei and Ali were far behind the upper-level miracles in terms of development, their individual combat power being formidable. However, the secret fruit was different. Its potential for development was sometimes even greater than that of an upper-level miracle. But Ying Muliang remained silent. While the Dao fruit was precious, it was merely an object compared to family. Bai Luo used it without hesitation, which Ying Mulian considered a good thing. He's regained his sanity. Yes, Sophia, standing beside Ying Mulian, narrowed her eyes slightly as her attention fell on the secret fruit in Bai Luo's hand. Then, an involuntary curl of her lips twitched. A miracle that can turn the tide? You're such a busybody, Yajin, but so what? Sophia looked at Maya lying on the bed. With your qualifications, how much of its power can you mobilize? Suddenly, the senior sister shook her head. She stroked her forehead, her heart full of doubts. Here it comes again, this dizzy feeling. What is going on, Maya? Competency. 75%. Looking at the compatibility of Maya and the secret fruit shown in the black book, Bai Luo frowned. It was not that he was reluctant, but he was worried that the fusion would fail and Maya would not be able to recover. Failure is failure, Bai Luo. If it fails, then I will look for another one until I find a miracle that can allow this child to merge. Chapter 344 Miracle Choice. Maya. Bai Luo lifted the blanket, revealing unbearable burns. Master, I tried my best. Lilith was powerless against the Dusk's curse, and even with her best efforts, she couldn't heal Maya's injuries. Saving her life meant she had truly done her best. Help her up, Bai Luo. Never mind, I'll do it. Carefully, Bai Luo reached under little Maya and helped her to her feet. Maya, can you hear me? The girl's face was completely burned, and her eyes, naturally, could not be saved, never to open again. Maya nodded, indicating she could hear. I found a new miracle, but it needs to be ingested to work. Bai Luo, I'll cut open your mouth. You endure the pain, chew it, and swallow it. Yes. Seeing Maya's expression, Bai Luo's hands trembled. He didn't harbor any disgust, only heartache and endless self-blame. I'm here. Bai Luo raised his finger, gathering sharp power between his fingers, and swiftly cut open Maya's mouth. The next moment, blood splattered. The girl endured the pain, chewing, and Bai Luo couldn't let her pass out. Hold on, you must hold on. Bai Luo placed the fist-sized secret fruit near the crack of the girl's mouth, soaking it in blood, and brought it close to her teeth. But Maya's teeth had also been partially melted by dusk, so she could only endure the excruciating pain and desperately bite down on the jewel-like fruit with her remaining intact teeth. Fortunately, the fruit only looked like a gem, not actually solid. Maya exerted only a slight force, and felt a cool liquid flow from her mouth into her stomach. Suddenly, a feeling of comfort filled her body, and the initial pain began to quickly dissipate. It worked. Great. Bai Luo was overwhelmed with excitement. He had prepared for failure, but the result was good. Maya had successfully become his miracle person. Maya, Maya, Maya. Bai Luo's voice faded away. The girl didn't know where she was, feeling dizzy, as if walking in a fog. Brother Bai Luo. Maya heard Bai Luo's voice and tried to find him, but there was no one around. Where is this place? Why am I? Oh, right, Brother Bai Luo found a miracle, and he fed it to me, but where is this place? The deep, azure corridor seemed like an endless corridor. Maya panicked. Is anyone here? Is anyone here? Suddenly, Maya felt a gaze, something watching her from somewhere. There, Maya looked up, and above the azure corridor, in the brilliant night sky, huge lights and shadows began to converge, eventually forming 5 godlike beings. Everything is false, only truth endures. It was half-bodied, not human, but rather like a fairy, with a lion's head and countless tentacles of blue energy floating around. For the sake of all living things, I have bestowed upon them the magical web. Even those who cannot cast spells can draw upon my power. This figure was a woman, clad in a long robe and holding a staff. Azure flames streamed from the corners of her eyes. When she lowered her head, streams of light fell, transforming into countless magical runes. I am an ancient emperor, the ruler of the stars. Why? Why betray me? This figure had an elephant-like face, somewhat resembling the Proteus from StarCraft that Bai Luo had once described to her, only more noble and majestic. No one can escape fate, just as we, despite fighting to the end, find no peace. The fourth figure was also a woman, with white hair, but a face of extraordinary sacred beauty. Poor child. Are you the next to suffer? Maybe, maybe not, but it all makes no difference. Fate is already determined, no one can change it, not even fate itself. It cannot alter its own decisions. This was the fifth figure. He resembled a skeleton, emaciated, yet he sat in meditation, like an ancient watcher, calm and unyielding. 5 figures faced each other from afar. Maya had previously been unaware of their identities, but now, she knew them. These 5 were the masters of the secret fruit who had obtained it before her. Sadly, they had long since fallen. But so that those who came after them could gain strength and hope, they had left their experience and knowledge here. While their words might be tinged with personal emotion, their desire to help those who came after them more quickly grasp this power was genuine. "Who are you?" "I am the master of miracles who obtained the secret fruit before you," the lion-headed orc said. "I have transformed all living things, and I have also transformed myself. If you require my power, you may take it. Your power is the power of all living things." Maya didn't quite understand what was meant by all living things, so she looked at the second person, the woman. "I am called the goddess of magic. I created a boundless network that covers my realm," the woman said. "If you need my magic, follow me. I am the emperor of the star realm, the third noble lord to obtain the secret fruit. My army covers the sky, my soldiers are invincible," said the astral, otherworldly being. "We connect our hearts and draw power from the void. The starry skies are home. I am the second." The white-haired woman was gentler than the other 3. "My power is not great, but learning and understanding. I call it secrets, arcane methods, and magic. It's slow, but you can use it to build a floating city." Finally, they came to the skeletal figure sitting cross-legged. He was special, stranger than any of the others. "I am the first to obtain the secrets. Like you, I am a miracle person. Unlike the other 4 miracle masters, this person did not obtain the miracle themselves. Instead, it was bestowed upon him by the miracle master, thus becoming a miracle person, like a miracle creature. My power is the most difficult and painful to acquire," the scrawny man said. "Isn't it strange? Why are we telling you so much? Because with your aptitude, you can obtain the power passed down by all of us, or you can create a 6th secret power of your own, but either one will consume all your effort and energy. You are not strong enough to rival the 5 of us combined. Simply put, each of the 5 power systems requires a lifetime of study. If Maya uses them all, she will only be proficient in a few, but not on the others. So it is better to focus on one from the beginning, and use the other 4 as support." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 345 Future. What is your power? Maya looked at the emaciated man. Why is it so difficult? Despite being burned by the dusk, Maya didn't blame Bai Luo at all. Despite the excruciating pain, once she recovered, Maya immediately focused her attention on Bai Luo. She had received a brand new miracle, and now faced a choice. She had to choose the one that would best serve Bai Luo's interests and help him the most. "Time," the emaciated young man said to Maya. "I obtained the secret fruit, beheld my king's fate, and witnessed his death. Despite the miracle, despite the king's immense power, the moment the young man received the secret fruit, he saw his final future, a tragic fate that brought him pain and even despair. I tried my best to change it, but in the end, I couldn't." "What a kind and innocent girl," the young man said. "If you choose my path, you will inevitably enter a world of the greatest suffering. A prophet, a seer, someone who sees through fate, yet he is manipulated by it, unable to extricate himself. Time, and the power to foresee and change fate." Maya hadn't expected this secret fruit to be such a miracle, to possess such a terrifying ability. "I choose time. I want to see the future." With such power, Maya would know what the future would hold. While that wasn't the real future, just a possibility, knowing the possibility allowed her to avoid danger and make the best choice. Maya felt that if she chose this path, she would be able to overcome Bai Luo's blind spot. Bai Luo now possessed 2 highly promising upper-level miracles, Senior Sister and the Eastern Empress. Ali and Xiaobei possessed world-class combat potential. As for the core, Lilith, Ancient Tales, and Greedy World would make Atón more diverse and prosperous. While Dusk posed a formidable threat, it also provided the confidence to perish together. He might not be able to defeat all the Lords of Miracles, but if anyone attacked Atón, Bai Luo could easily drag a dozen or so into the fray. Military power, prosperity, and culture, Atón was already well equipped. What she lacked was a prophet, a visionary who could provide Bai Luo with direction. Even if the future isn't good, do you still want to see it in advance? The future will definitely be good. Maya disagreed with the young man's statement. She firmly believed that Bai Luo would reach the pinnacle, that he would become the greatest leader. How wonderful! The young man's body began to dissipate into particles of light. Maya was bathed in gentle rain. He began to disappear, and gave Maya all his accumulated wisdom. Thank you for your hard work, child. Show us the hidden path for our king. Give her all your power at once. Why? Unlike the scrawny young man, the other 4 remaining mystical spirits didn't understand his thoughts. They served no one, they belonged only to themselves, kings, not subjects. But Maya understood. She sensed the young man's devotion and guilt towards his king. Even though he was long dead, only a fragment of his consciousness remained here. He remained true to his original intention. Predict the future, see the miracles of countless possibilities. Maya felt a surge of power within her. A flash of inspiration flickered in her mind. Now, she captured a world line, the one with the highest probability of happening in the future. Brother Bai Luo, Maya's expression grew increasingly serious. I will protect my brother's future. The azure world dissipated, and the environment around Maya shifted rapidly. Crackle, amidst the torrential rain, Maya saw a slowly descending scepter. It hit the ground, shattering. What is this? Before Maya, a cat-eared girl faced her, weeping in the pouring rain. Who's behind her? Who is she crying to? Maya turned quickly, but the light and shadows vanished before she could see the answer, replaced by a boundless, inky black sea. The water was murky, like an abyss, and crimson beams like thunder flashed below. Boom! Maya stood on the deck, a massive wave crashing in, shaking the entire ship. Where is this place? Maya felt immersed in the scene, as if she had truly arrived somewhere in the future. She looked forward, and saw a very familiar figure. Brother Bai Luo. At this moment, Bai Luo stood with his back to Maya, his hands tightly gripping the rudder, steering the boat through this land of death. Maya couldn't see Bai Luo's expression, nor did she know where they were. She only knew that she had seen the most likely future. Brother Bai Luo, Maya called out, moving forward, but before her hand could reach Bai Luo, the entire world once again dissipated like ink. Why can't I see clearly? The inherited memories Maya had received should allow her to see the future, but why were they only fragments? This was different from the knowledge the young man had given her. Is it because I'm too weak? Maya subconsciously grasped the answer. Her talent wasn't enough to harness the full power of the secret fruit. While others could see the entire process, she could only see fragments. It's changed again, the scene shifted again, and this time, Maya saw Bai Luo again. That sword. Maya saw the weapon in Bai Luo's hand. It was dusk. How could this happen? Although severely injured, Maya knew that Bai Luo had destroyed dusk. Teacher Lilith had told her so herself. But now, in a fragment of the future, Maya saw Bai Luo holding Wang Hun. Brother Bai Luo, will you call it back? Where's the enemy? His enemy is. Maya immediately looked around, and the sight sent a chill through her. It was a boundless, countless army. Maya was horrified by the presence of some of the powerful within, legends, epics, even myths, and even the true forms of miracles, and there were more than one. This was a vast army that a single miracle master could muster. Who was Bai Luo fighting, and what kind of enemy was he facing? You're right, Wang Hun. Bai Luo's voice came from beside Maya. The next moment, the man raised the flaming cross-sword in his hand and gently swung it forward. In an instant, Maya felt as if she had witnessed the end of the world. Millions of miracles were reduced to ash by Bai Luo's single blow. How could this be? Maya's body trembled. Is this it? In the future, Bai Luo would awaken dusk again, then battle countless lords of miracles, annihilate countless children of miracles, and forge a mortal feud with them, a feud that would last until their death. No, this cannot be. Even Maya knew that if this future happened, Bai Luo would be on a path of no return. Crack, 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 space shattered. The astral realm, the sacred beast forest, the garden, this place was all too familiar to Maya. It was the world of Avalon. But now, it was shattering. Bang, the castle crumbled, the earth shattered, and more people died. Inside were the Atón clan Maya was familiar with, as well as strangers. New Atón people who might join in the future. Flames spread across Atón, and the Atón people wailed within. Puff, the silver-haired girl hugged Bai Luo, but dusk pierced through her back, passing through her body. Coma, Maya's pupils shrank suddenly. Although that familiar figure had grown up and matured a lot, Maya would never mistake her identity. Inya, sister. Chapter 346. The future? Is this the future? How could this be Brother Bai Luo's future? I don't want it. Maya clenched her fists, tears welling in her eyes. She was only 10 years old, and even with the wisdom of a miracle, she couldn't change this fact. I don't want this future. It's not real, absolutely not real. Inya would die at Bai Luo's hands. This change, I can change the future. All of this hasn't happened yet. Since it hasn't happened, it's just a vague illusion. It's just a possibility. It doesn't mean it will happen. And now, Inya knew this fate in advance. If nothing else, if she told Bai Luo, then. No, it's not like that. Simply saying it was meaningless. It was like fortune telling. If you don't say anything bad about someone, they'll be fine. But it's precisely because you told them there was danger that they became cautious. And then, a problem arose. My prophecy itself is also part of fate. If you think that way, then it's not the true meaning of the miracle. Because it implies that there's something called fate that's high above, controlling everything, and everyone is its plaything. The true power of the secret fruit is the ability to determine fate, watch countless destinies unfold, choose the one you wish to see, and then devote all your energy to nudging, mending, and shaping it. Connected to Bai Luo's mind, Maya could perfectly synchronize with him and make her own choices. Maya's decisions were equivalent to Bai Luo's. But can my power really see to the end? Maya now regretted it. She felt she shouldn't have received the secret fruit. Such powerful power should be bestowed upon someone as exceptional as Sister Alia. Now there's a chance to see the answer. Viewing the trajectory of fate was a daunting task, and it was long, potentially spanning thousands or even tens of thousands of years. The amount of miraculous power Maya would have to expend in order to see that far in a single glance would be unimaginable. Fortunately, the miraculous power itself possessed unlimited power. The only problem was the output. In theory, Maya, having just received the secret fruit, didn't possess such immense magical power, but the skinny young man still possessed a door, a passage, that released miraculous power. It was shaky and could only be used once, but it held unlimited power, allowing Maya to perfectly observe the future. You can only watch one person's fate at a time. It was obvious who Maya wanted to watch, Bai Luo's future, his ending. Crack, in a world of nothingness, Maya raised her hands, and boundless magical power surged forth. The next moment, the world twisted, and Maya felt like she was traveling through a seemingly endless tunnel. To her left and right were countless fragments of time, countless, indistinct. Finally, the fleeting passage of time ended, and when Maya opened her eyes, she found herself in a vast, empty space. Where is this? Pitch black, it resembled a palace, with faint glimpses of towering pillars. Her feet felt cool and smooth, like walking barefoot on marble. Have I really arrived in the future? Although she knew this was a miraculous future, an illusion compared to reality, Maya somehow felt it was incredibly real. To use Bai Luo's memory, Maya was experiencing a holographic game. No one here could feel her, nor could they perceive her. Maya was a detached spectator, an observer. Everything was false, only she was real. Dingling, dingling, Your Majesty. Please bring some guards, will you come along? Maya's eyes widened at the voice, Brother Bai Luo, though his tone was old and vicissitudes of life, the gentleness and casualness in his words were incredibly familiar to Maya. This is a strategic location. I wouldn't dare, it's just a place of commemorative significance, Bai Luo said. Atón, what's the point of a strategic location? Directly in front of Maya, a faint blue light shone from the entrance. She saw Bai Luo, just as she remembered him. Unlike his usual silver hair, his hair was now gray. Though he looked still youthful, the sadness between his brows made Maya's heart ache. What had he been through to have such a look in his eyes? Dong Bai Luo, clad in a white robe like pajamas, set foot on the dark ground, ablaze with light. It was a world as radiant as the starry sky. Maya stared wide-eyed at the scene before her. Bai Luo walked across the universe, beneath his feet a world of indescribable beauty. It was a vast map, neither flat nor three-dimensional, but a spatial structure beyond Maya's comprehension. Yet, even as she gazed at it, this magnificent world beneath her feet, a thought occurred to her, it's a map, is anyone there? Suddenly, Bai Luo stopped walking, looking curiously toward Maya's location. Bai Luo didn't panic at all, as if the assassin was here, he would speak patiently instead of angrily. It was like a lonely empty nester who suddenly encountered a cat in his home. How is it possible? Logically, Maya couldn't possibly be noticed by the people of the future, because the future was an illusion to her, a thing that didn't exist. But Bai Luo's gaze did indeed reach her, and Maya turned immediately. There was no one behind her. Bai Luo was truly looking at her. You are. Bai Luo's voice was a little hoarse. Maya, he really saw it. Brother Bai Luo. Maya stepped forward, emerging from the darkness. She felt a little uneasy. It was her first time predicting the future, and yet someone had seen through her. But Maya wasn't afraid, because the person before her was Bai Luo, and he wouldn't hurt her. Maya. Bai Luo looked at Maya like an old father observing his young daughter. Are you really Brother Bai Luo? Maya couldn't mistake the man before her. She could even vaguely sense a connection between them. It was a miracle contract. But how was this possible? Time itself didn't exist. For Maya, the future was a calculation, a way of capturing the trajectory of fate and predicting a certain possibility in advance. But Bai Luo didn't explain, simply extending his hand toward the girl. Huh? Maya brushed it away gently. She couldn't touch Bai Luo's hand. He remained a phantom to her. Bai Luo was indeed a lie, but in this future, his power was beyond Maya's comprehension, so even as a phantom, he could communicate with her. You observe me through time, and I observe you observing me through time. Chapter 347. Next time, don't go to the wrong place again. So the future Brother Bai Luo, Maya said happily, is he very strong? Yes. Bai Luo gave a wry smile. There shouldn't be anyone more powerful than me. It was a statement of pride, but coming from Bai Luo's mouth, it sounded like a sarcastic self-deprecation. Can you prove that you're really Brother Bai Luo? Maya wanted to know if what she saw was real or just a fantasy. The proof was simple. Bai Luo could demonstrate wisdom and power beyond Maya's comprehension, proving it wasn't just her imagination. Let's just say I'm fake. Bai Luo had no intention of proving anything. He smiled gently at the girl before him. Then, can you grant this impostor a small wish? What? Talk to me before you leave. Bai Luo sat down, then gestured for Maya to sit next to him. Just talk, anything is fine, okay? The Emperor of Atón, even if only a shadow, was so gentle and even a little humble to a spy like her. Maya didn't know what Bai Luo had been through, but she felt an inexplicable pang of heartache. Okay, thank you, Bai Luo smiled contentedly. At the same time, the small patch of brilliant starry sky beneath their feet began to evolve, eventually forming a column. They sat on its edge, gazing into the distance. What are these? Maya didn't know what the starry sky she was seeing was. That's our country, huh? Maya was puzzled. Bai Luo explained, this room contains a map of Atón. Our current location, and everything ahead, is a map. Just as Maya had subconsciously suspected, the Atón Empire would be incredibly grand in the future. Even a map, not even a flat sheet of paper, could barely capture its grandeur. Only through this method could one barely capture its grandeur. Is this true? Perhaps, Bai Luo said, though I hope it's fake. Why? This Bai Luo gave Maya a strange feeling, both familiar and alien. He was still himself, but Maya felt as if she had awakened after a 10,000-year slumber, profoundly disconnected from Atón. Maya, Bai Luo pondered for a moment and said, tell me, if I hadn't found the miracle back then, how great it would have been. Why do you say that? Maya was a little scared. This was not the Bai Luo brother she remembered. Her Bai Luo brother was strong, both physically and mentally. So he would never say something like I regret it. What exactly happened to your future, Maya? Tell me, I'll help you change it. I can change it. Although the Bai Luo in front of her was just a possibility in the future, Maya still needed to know so that she could take precautions. I'm sorry, however, Bai Luo chose to shake his head. I'm just an imposter. I don't know what the future holds. You're lying, Maya. You just don't want to tell me. I'm sorry, Maya. Bai Luo, you said I regretted it. Yes, I really do. I shouldn't have brought you from Atón village, and I shouldn't have let you receive the miracle. Then perhaps you wouldn't have to endure so much pain. Because of my own dreams and willfulness. Bai Luo's tone was calm, as if simply stating a fact, and you gave everything, especially you, Maya. Bai Luo, I've always wanted to apologize to you. Can you forgive me? Bai Luo's eyes were pleading, but Maya didn't understand. Couldn't agree. Why deny your past? We all left the village with you voluntarily, Maya said. No matter what happens in the future, I will never regret it. Maya couldn't represent all the Atón people, but she could represent herself. For Bai Luo, she would give her all. Is it because of this? Maya pointed at the weapon on Bai Luo's waist. It was dusk. The Dusk she had just met not long ago, Maya would not mistake it. But what made Maya a little strange was that Bai Luo was wearing two swords. In addition to Dusk, there was another one. This weapon had no scabbard. It was very beautiful, as if it was forged from the universe and the starry sky. Maya seemed to see the sun, moon, stars and the whole world in it. Maya was sure that she had never seen this weapon before, but it appeared in this future. Something beyond cognition appeared. Here, it was not necessarily false. Dusk, Bai Luo did not answer, but Maya was anxious. I tried my best to have this shuttle. Don't be like this, give me some hints. Maya knew that her qualifications were not high enough. She had finally come here. What should she do if she really didn't bring anything back? Seeing the tears in the girl's eyes, Bai Luo's heart softened. Or do you think, Maya said in a trembling voice, that with my abilities, I can't change anything, nor can I save Atón? I've never thought so. Bai Luo hesitated again and again, and finally said, the Lost Kingdom, what? Let Xiaobei return the Lost Kingdom to its original place. Bai Luo sighed. Perhaps this will change things. Xiaobei? The Lost Kingdom. Maya naturally knew Xiaobei as Bai Luo, but what is the Lost Kingdom? And what does it mean to return the Lost Kingdom to its original place? What does that mean? You can. Maya was about to continue asking, but a hand pressed on her little head. It was Bai Luo. Maya, you are my pride. Perhaps Aliyah is better than you, but I have never regretted giving you the secret fruit. Bai Luo's body began to shatter, like a sand dune in the wind, dissipating bit by bit into particles of light. You possess something more powerful than Aliyah. You are the one most suitable for the secret fruit, Your Majesty. Feeling the warmth from Bai Luo's hand, and the immense sadness, tears fell from Maya's eyes. Please forgive my willfulness. People like me are not worth saving, but they are innocent, Bai Luo said. So, I beg you, Maya, save them, Your Majesty. The light and shadow returned. Maya still had many questions, but time was running out. Go back. Also, Bai Luo was completely wiped out, leaving only a sentence that Maya couldn't understand. Next time, don't go to the wrong place again. Goodbye, my little angel, brother Bai Luo. Suddenly, Maya turned over from the bed, and her shout scared Bai Luo, who was waiting on the side. What's wrong? I'm here, Maya, hugging the pale girl. Bai Luo patted her back. It's okay now, your injury is healed. I'm sorry, Maya, I'm sorry. Chapter 348, One of the Two. I'm fine, brother Bai Luo. Maya didn't have time to talk about that right now. She didn't care about her injuries. The Atón had a strong tolerance for pain. They were the type to be captured and tortured to death without even begging for mercy, let alone surrendering. But none of that mattered. Maya had something bigger to tell Bai Luo. Brother Bai Luo, I just saw the future. The senior sister overheard Maya's words. What kind of future? A terrifying future. Maya didn't need words. She simply shared her memories with Bai Luo, as if Bai Luo were there himself, witnessing everything Maya encountered. While this could easily become a counter-prophecy, meaning that the event occurred precisely because of your prediction, the very fact that you predicted it was inherent in fate. But Maya didn't care. She simply wanted to tell Bai Luo, and to warn him. Bai Luo naturally didn't think it was fake. He stood up, glanced around, and said, let's go to the conference room. Maya, your body, I'm fine, then let's go together. Soon, Bai Luo entered the conference room, carrying all his miracles. Bai Luo, his uncle, his senior sister, the Eastern Empress, Maya, Leon, Ali, Xiaobei, Shirley, Lilith, Qingquan, the Reed family, everyone except Iotana was there. Everyone, tell us, Bai Luo, about the future Maya saw. Bai Luo shared this memory. Everyone present was close, so there was no need to keep it to themselves. That's all. The Eastern Empress words were careless, but in Maya's ears, they made her feel guilty. It was a rare opportunity to see the trajectory of fate, and she had squandered it. This is the difference between high and low talent. Seeing Maya lower her head, Yingmu Ayan quickly explained, Maya was just a little girl, and Yingmu Ayan was at a loss for words of comfort. Bai Luo coughed dryly and said, Maya did see the future. It's not her fault. I think it's that guy who's being secretive. Bai Luo was referring to the future self Maya had seen. Of course, Bai Luo didn't believe there was another him. The future was an illusion. No one could replicate a Lord of Miracles, who symbolized infinity. Such a power simply didn't exist in this world. Secretive, the old uncle sat to Bai Luo's right. He pulled out his pipe and gestured to Bai Luo, who nodded, indicating that he was free to smoke. "What do you think, uncle?" "Let me think about it." Puffing, the old uncle glanced at his senior sister, but didn't express his opinion. No way, Bai Luo didn't believe the old uncle hadn't seen anything. After all, even he had noticed so many details. The broken scepter must be Helbo. Leon, mingling with the young people, was quite familiar with Helbo and Ilona. The crying cat-ear girl must be Lulu. As for the reason for the crying, Shiro frowned deeply. In the future Maya saw, Helbo will die, right? Helbo was Aton's messenger, the most accomplished messenger alive. Although Shiro had sent him out, he had always been guaranteed safety wherever he went. This was partly due to his uncle's guarantee, and partly due to Shiro's confidence. But Helbo would die in the future. This didn't make sense. The idea of two countries not killing envoys during a war was pure nonsense. If there really was a country Shiro had deemed potentially at war, how could he send Helbo to his death just for a so-called declaration of war? This was a joke. How could Shiro, who loved his children, do such a thing? I might make a misjudgment in the future. Shiro had considered a country safe, but due to a misjudgment of its courage, Helbo fell there. That's just a possibility, Xiao Luo, Yingmu Yang said. I know a prophet like Maya, whose abilities are worthy of being called a genius. He told me that the future can be trusted, but not completely. Fate can be deceptive, right? Bai Luo understood Yingmu Yang's meaning. He couldn't afford to be timid because of a supposed prophecy. If everything really followed prophecy, would Bai Luo still be a leader? Was prophecy a navigation system, or a remote control? The most important information, Bai Luo said, is dusk. In Maya's vision of the future, dusk appeared 4 times. The first time, Bai Luo faced an army of tens of thousands and then wielded dusk. Dusk's appearance in the future meant that Bai Luo would definitely recall it again. Honestly, no one present wanted to face dusk a second time. That weapon was so uncanny and strange. If it truly returned, it would surely unleash another catastrophe. The next 2 times, my Avalon will be destroyed, most likely due to dusk, Isifia, and the 3rd time, this time, it's probably the future Bai Luo can't accept the most. I will kill Inya with my own hands, killing his sister with his own hands. Such a thing is almost ridiculous. Dusk, I really regret it. If Bai Luo had known how dangerous dusk would be, he would never have let it go. Power is important, and dusk's ability to destroy everything gives Bai Luo confidence, but what are the risks? His family, his children, his parents could be killed at any time. Apart from anything else, if Inya's future came true, would Bai Luo be happy even if he finally got the whole world? At that time, eternal life would become painful, because Bai Luo would live in guilt and self-blame for the rest of his life. The key lies in the 4th time, the old man began. Little Maya saw dusk and another weapon on the waist of the future Bai Luo, Empress. As soon as the old man finished speaking, Yingmu Yan understood what he meant and immediately pictured Li Guang in the air. Maya, is that the other weapon you saw? Yes. Maya's words instantly silenced the entire room. Many of those present had fought against Li Guang's projections and were well aware of its power. Li Guang was in no way inferior to dusk. They were both powerful artifacts of the same level. And what was even more incredible was that, according to the future Maya had seen, Bai Luo not only survived dusk but actually possessed Li Guang. One person possessing both dusk and Li Guang simultaneously was enough to make Yingmu Yan gasp. To possess either would be devastating. To simultaneously control the power of Li Guang and dusk, not only did Yingmu Yan shake his head, even Bai Luo hadn't anticipated his future self to be so powerful. Chapter 349, No Books Are Worth Having. Li Guang on the left hand, Wang Hun on the right. This setup is truly top-notch, but I'm curious, Bai Luo said. According to what's going on in this future, not only am I alive and well, I'm also incredibly powerful. As soon as these words left his mouth, some people were genuinely agitated. How should one assess whether the future is good or bad? Just like Leon, if he knew he'd die, but the upside was that Bai Luo could remain great. What would Leon choose? Undoubtedly, Leon would sacrifice himself to make Bai Luo a success. So the future's good or bad depends on each person. Just because Bai Luo couldn't accept it didn't mean Leon and Maya couldn't accept it. Miracles aren't invincible, and neither are their subjects. Don't you dare play such tricks on me. Bai Luo displayed the authority of the Lord of Miracles. Leon and the others bowed their heads, and even Yingmu Yan and his senior sister trembled slightly. You? Bai Luo was speechless. He said to the 2 women, They're ignorant, don't you understand either? Neither woman spoke, and Bai Luo was deeply troubled, because they could actually do such a thing. It's not easy for a miracle to sacrifice itself, the old uncle said. Besides, I'm a little concerned about his last words, huh? While everyone's eyes were fixed on Li Guang and Huang'an, the old uncle was the only one concerned with Bai Luo's words. Don't get lost next time. Observing through the direction of time isn't impossible. In fact, almost everyone present could do it. If someone used a skill like stopping or rewinding time, they would be able to detect it and it wouldn't be affected. Simply put, it's a matter of the infinite law of miracles. Miracles themselves represent infinity, and to alter infinity inherently requires infinite power. Therefore, even Maya couldn't use time to interfere with any miracle master, kill them in the past, or determine their future fate. It was impossible. After all, Maya's ability was a type of released miracle power. Miracle power was of a lower rank than any other miracle, and even the lowest miracle couldn't be affected by a mere miracle power. You've taken the wrong path, Bai Luo muttered to himself. Could it be that this trajectory of fate isn't the correct one, and he's reminding Maya to seek a new destiny? Was that the case? The old uncle, lost in thought, had a guess, but it was too illogical. Perhaps, ultimately, the old uncle didn't voice this possibility. Fate can sometimes be unreliable, Sophia said. Xiao Luo, according to future predictions, he knew little Maya. This means that in that trajectory of fate, Maya also obtained the secret fruit and possessed the power to change time. Yes, Bai Luo understood what the senior sister meant. He also possessed Maya, yet it still ended the same way, and he wasn't satisfied. He possessed Maya, the one who could change his fate, yet he couldn't escape. This showed that Maya's vision of the future was riddled with loopholes and deeply problematic. Destiny can't be completely trusted, Sophia said. We can only use it as a guide. Bai Luo felt that the senior sister had a point. It's better to have no books than to believe everything in them. One must still make their own judgments. Well, let me summarize. First, regarding Hailbo's safety, I will intensify my efforts and ensure he remains safe. Second, summon Dusk again, Bai Luo. It's hard to imagine the magnitude of the crisis Arden will face in the future, forcing me to rely on its power even knowing the side effects. Could it be a world war? Arden, about to be targeted? For this 10,000 Kings conference, we must first rule out such a scenario. Bai Luo himself did not want to use Dusk. His concept of war was a battle without the use of large-scale weapons of mass destruction, simply a display of individual prowess. If a single strike of the sort annihilated a million-strong army, it wouldn't be war, but a massacre. On our side, Leon is the declared Lord of Miracles, as is Fiaya, Marcus, Grand Duke, Sister, the three of you are Lords of Miracles, and you can legitimately attend the 10,000 Kings Conference. This would increase Bai Luo's quota for the 10,000 Kings Conference from 1 to 6, greatly increasing his influence. Furthermore, King Aole and Fat Old Man should be more reliable allies. The fate of Queen Kane remains unknown. She might side with Bai Luo, or she might switch sides, fearing Dusk. The conference will be crucial. Ying Muiyang had always disdained international conferences, believing them meaningless. But now, facing a world-class crisis, conferences have become crucial. Eastern Empire, can you support me? Logically, Ying Muiyang should have given Bai Luo her unwavering support at this moment. Of course, she herself would have no problem doing so. But there are two concepts of the Eastern Empire. One is her suzerain, the Eastern Empire, and the other is the Nine Continents Alliance, a vast nation comprised of 20 nations and the Eastern Empire. Simply put, it consists of an emperor and a group of princes and other nobles, lords of miracles. They respect me as king, but they are also willing to listen to my opinions, Ying Muiyang, but at this moment, the Nine Continents Alliance is not unified, and I cannot guarantee anything. Ying Muiyang dared not declare, I am the Eastern Empire, because the combined power of the 20 kings of the 9 continents alliance was enough to keep Ying Muiyang at bay. Xiao Luo, you should be very clear about the situation in the Iron Eagle Kingdom, King Kun said. Ali and I occupy 2/7. Earl of Thorn will definitely blame you at the meeting. The positions of Iron Eagle, Xianzi, Yize and Birch Tree are unclear. It is very likely that Xianzi will stand on the opposite side. After all, she is also a prophet. Ali defined the female Marcus Xianzi as soon as he opened his mouth. If she can also see the future and see the scene of destruction of the world, those charlatans will definitely be our enemies. The mountains are unclear, the starry night is unclear, the far north. Bai Luo actually had a headache. As the saying goes, make friends with distant countries and attack nearby ones. Atón didn't even do basic diplomacy well and encountered such a thing. It was really troublesome. The biggest problem is the far north, the old uncle side. I'm not worried about the other kingdoms at all, but this far north is very troublesome. What's wrong with the far north? Bai Luo was puzzled. Ying Mulian, Qingquan, and Ali seemed to understand what the old uncle meant. Is it because of the far north empress? What that woman said, Ying Mulian said, is really a time bomb. Bai Luo had always heard of the far north empress from others, but he had never truly understood her. He only knew that she was a warmonger with a strong aggressive nature. Plus, everyone seemed to avoid talking about this person. Even his senior sister knew her better than Bai Luo did. What do you mean? Chapter 350, Counterfeit. Following the crowd's explanations, Bai Luo quickly grasped the situation in the Far North Empire. First, while the Far North Empire also possessed 20 Lords of Miracles, their situation was different from that of other nations. It was a purely military state. The Far North Emperor possessed exceptional management skills, relying on his charisma to keep the Far North Empire in perfect order. The most formidable figure was the Far North Empress. Her combat prowess was astonishing, and she possessed the most powerful of the higher miracles. Atón possessed Dusk. While not everyone knew what Dusk was, the ancient emperor and the fat old fool were certain they knew, and they would share this information with others. With such a weapon in Bai Luo's hands, who would dare challenge him? Most kings would likely be wary, yet he wouldn't dare take direct action, preferring to wait and see. Are you most afraid of this madman? No one would easily engage in a life-and-death battle with Bai Luo. As long as he showed his resolve at the meeting of kings, even if others knew of Bai Luo's covert plans, they wouldn't expose him outright. Are we trying to trick them? Shura, the Reed family's leader, raised his hand, wanting to know their stance. No, Bai Luo said, I don't want a war. The Dusk calamity had sobered Bai Luo up considerably. He didn't want the war to actually break out. Rather than being a formidable invader, Bai Luo preferred to lead the people of Atón in farming. After all, the world was vast, there was no need to focus on just one place. We must convince them that Atón and I have no ambitions, there was no need to conquer the world, and Bai Luo had nothing better to do. He was a fool to inexplicably antagonize a group of people. The most troublesome factor in this situation was a warmongering woman like the Far North Queen. She cared nothing for the dangers of Dusk, only wanting to confront the supreme miracle. According to his uncle's calculations, if Bai Luo's identity as the Lord of Dusk were exposed, the Far North Queen would be on Atón to challenge him in a matter of minutes. I'll help you stop the Far North Empress, Ying Muiyang said. If she dares to touch you, I'll kill her. If Ying Muiyang's estimation of the Far North Empress's strength was correct, she should be similar to herself, above the 6th awakening, but not yet at the 7th. Therefore, they could be considered experts of the same level. Is that okay, HMPH? Even if it was a younger brother who dared to doubt his own strength, Ying Muiyang would be furious. Sorry, Bai Luo apologized quickly. I'm just a little worried about you. That's more like it, Ying Muiyang said. I've fought her before, and even I wouldn't guarantee victory. However, Ying Muiyang did have a way to kill the Far North Empress. That's why she could confidently declare that if the Far North Empress dared to touch Bai Luo, she would kill her. Leave the meeting to me. The old uncle stood up, concluding the internal discussion. Seeing this, Bai Luo said, then let's end the meeting for now. Next, we need to discuss how to respond to the questions from the kings. Bai Luo dismissed the meeting. Empress Dong, as she had other matters to attend to in the empire, left first. Lilith and the others returned to their respective garrisons. Ali also had to deal with 200,000 Huxia people, and Qingquan, like her, was also very busy. Of all the people present, Bai Luo had the least time. However, she was now Bai Luo's personal bodyguard, required to be by his side at all times, so in that sense, she wasn't idle. Girl, inside Avalon Castle, the senior sister, as per usual, was about to leave for seclusion when her old uncle called her back. Father, is there something wrong? Inya asked, looking at the old man with some confusion. Can I still call you girl? What else? Inya smiled. Father, what should you call me? The old uncle didn't say much during the meeting, nor did he express his own opinion. The reason was Inya before him. Queen of Avalon, is it? No, Inya, it's me. Father, is that so? This was the possibility that troubled the old uncle the most. There was no Queen of Avalon. Senior sister was Isephia, she just forgot her past. However, once senior sister recalled her past, she would become the Queen of Avalon. What do you want to do? What can I do? I'm his senior sister, and now his wife, Isephia asked. What do you think I would do? The old uncle looked at Isephia calmly, and she responded with a calm look. Neither of them spoke, but the game of chess had already begun, and had even been played out countless times. I surrender, Isephia smiled faintly and said casually, I'm no match for you. If I fight you, I'll definitely lose. This was clearly a lie. Uncle didn't believe the legendary Queen of Avalon could be inferior to him. Although it was only their first meeting, their relationship was not equal. Senior sister knew Uncle well, but Uncle knew nothing about the Queen of Avalon. His knowledge of her was based solely on fragments from the heroic spirits. But looking at the Queen of Avalon's record, this woman practically destroyed an era. Why are you targeting Bai Luo? Are you guessing? She refused to say anything, not even a shred of information Queen Avalon would reveal to Uncle. I respect you deeply, from the bottom of my heart, Isephia suddenly said. If someone like you were to constantly oppose me, even I'd be in for a real headache, so how about this? Isephia's smile faded, her gaze growing colder. As long as you're alive, I won't do anything. On the other hand, once Uncle died. In your opinion, the old uncle took a drag on his cigarette. Am I doomed, father? Senior sister looked at the old uncle, puzzled. What's wrong? The old man had clearly called her, but why didn't he say anything? What was he doing? Nothing. The old uncle walked up to senior sister and, as she stared blankly, patted her shoulder. I'll leave Bai Luo to you. Inside the corridor of Avalon Gardens, senior sister watched the old uncle's retreating figure. She wasn't a dull person, and she immediately understood the subtext of the old man's words. Damn it, she clenched her fists, her brows filled with worry. Has that guy already taken over my body? Senior sister had noticed lately, too. She'd occasionally become dazed and absent-minded. Combined with the old uncle's appearance, she had no memory of what had happened. The answer was obvious. This feeling was truly unpleasant, because Bai Luo was her husband. And yet, now, another woman had appeared by Bai Luo's side, replacing her. Fake. Senior sister rarely gets angry, but this time she was really angry. Bai Luo is mine. I will never allow any disgusting guy to get close to that child, even if this person is her, it would be the same. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.